Viewer discretion is advised.
I want to see people with a roof over their head. I want to see community housing. I want to see people with a warm bed. I want to see kids who can go to school. We don't have to share a uniform.
Mandate.
Hey, welcome to Mandate, where we navigate fresh perspectives and nothing's off the table. Our guest is a proud coaster. He also resides in Tamaki Makaurau in Auckland and is a man who's an entrepreneur, an established businessman as well, but also renowned in the hospitality field. And so he's a man who is not afraid to speak his mind. He added a bit of a controversy, politics, and also strong values and convictions, which make a good mix for someone who could very well be the next mayor of Tamaki Makaurau of Auckland. So please put your hands together for the man himself, Leo Molloy.
Thank you, Brad.
Leo, thank you so much. I know you're a very busy man. I know the campaign's been quite busy, but hey, where do we start, Leo? Because you're such a colourful personality, mate. What do we want to say? Because maybe we should just go straight into kind of your background. So tell us a little bit about how it all started for you and all that, and how you kind of got into.
Well, I'm one of 7 children. Mum was young when Dad died. Mum was only 33. Mum's sister had 11 children, so I guess you could reasonably presume if Dad hadn't died. Dad was a soldier in the Second World War. Came home and married Mum. He's a little bit older, about 14 years older. But he died relatively young at 47. Mum was widowed at 33, so I'm number 2 of the 7. I, in the first instance, left school at 15. I ended up going back to school when I was 24 because I wanted to develop another career, an academic career. I realised the error of my ways where I hadn't probably understood the value of tertiary education. Not that there was a premium on tertiary education in those days like there is now. In those days it was more of a rarity, but I went back to school, and then I became a veterinary surgeon and practiced small animal practice for about 4 years. And in 1991, kind of by accident, I got into hospitality. The government at the time rewrote the Sale of Liquor Act, took the monopoly off the breweries, so it allowed people with a little bit of flair, entrepreneurs, as you generously described me before, to get into hospitality. But of course, being of Irish extraction, hospitality is not too difficult for Irish people because most of us just talk shit and drink piss all day. So it was kind of like an easy fit for me. So I've managed to go through the last, how many years is that? Probably 34, 35 years. Mate. Just mucking around in hospitality. And I've still registered as a vet. I don't do much practice these days, mainly did a little bit of high performance equine stuff up until about 5 years ago. But in recent times, it's more been just so I can help the odd person with things like expert witness stuff for performance-enhancing drug-related issues and stuff like that. But this is the last year I'm going to register because I've obviously got plans to run for the mayoralty. So,
wow, man! I was just wondering because did you mention you're a jockey as well?
About 30 kilograms ago. Yep,
yeah,
I was. Yeah. That's when I was quite young. So that was a very brief part of my life. That wasn't a significant part of my life.
Wow.
Having said that, I kept riding up until, as I said, about 5 years ago. I used to enjoy riding, so it's quite an art riding at that level.
Yeah.
Because you have to have you've got to have good balance and good hands and stuff. So I used to enjoy that, and it's actually good for your health. It's quite demanding. So you end up having very strong legs, very strong quadriceps and stuff. I can still deadlift. I could leg press up until a couple of years ago about 600 kg. But I did it the other day to show off to the boys. I took the firemen on. The firemen have about 4 different colour squads: brown, green, red, blah blah, and they train at the same gym. And I said to them one day, "Who's the strongest? Let's have a go." So they put their best man up, and I destroyed him pretty easily.
No way.
Yeah. But and they, bear in mind they run up the Sky Tower. But I did 400 kg the other day, just to show off because the boys at the gym would go, "Oh yeah, come on, man, you can't." I said, "Watch me." So I got a couple of personal instructors to take each side. It's just only leg pressing. It's only your legs, and I've got no upper body power. But I was doing 140 the other day. I went to that gym up in Newmarket just for a bit of a one-off, and I said, put a bit of weight on there, and the bloke goes, I'll start you off nice and light, about 60 or 80. Come on, man. So he got up to 100. He said, you're not safe to more than 100. I said, don't be ridiculous. So I persuaded him to put 140 on, which I deadlifted easy. So,
wow.
But I could have done a lot more. But, I mean, I've only got one muscle in my body that's any use. It's just one set of muscles, the quaddies. So other than that, and I think it comes from riding because I spent a lot of years riding in the squat position. You develop a lot of natural strength. So.
It's cool, man.
And that's awesome. You mentioned something there about leaving school and then sort of realising the importance of tertiary education. Do you think tertiary education is as essential nowadays as it was back
I think
in the day?
probably more so. Like, I come from the West Coast, obviously from Greymouth or country. Mum's family come from a wee place called Blackball that a lot of people might recognise, or just in that area, not quite Blackball. And Dad comes from a place called Kotaku, which is near Moana or Lake Brunner, so a lot of people know those areas. But back in those days, I remember when the first person from that area went to university, and it was quite a novelty. So given that Mum was a widow, I was the second of 7, and I was quite a rebellious child. So when I said I wanted to leave at 15, she said, if you do this, this and this, or achieve that, you can leave. So it was normal. I left at 15, but when I finished riding, which I only rode for about 4 years, then I went over, and I actually went to England, and I worked for the Queen's Stable for a couple of years down near a place called Oxford, which is quite well known for the university. Our place was West Ilsley, a village just outside. But when I was there, I was thinking to myself, you know what, riding's quite cool, and it's quite good fun, and you meet a lot of interesting people when you're in England riding, because it's a different culture racing over there. It's very much the elite, the royalty, or the upper class people, which obviously we don't have a class system in New Zealand. But even I was starting to look at myself in the mirror and going, really, is this where your life's going to end? You know, are you better than this? And luckily for me, I've got a reasonably good brain on me. I'm not particularly bright, but I'm adequate. And I thought I'd better do something with it, because clearly I was not really cut out for physical work, you know. So I was happy. I'd applied through New Zealand House. I said, can I go back to and do something like vet school? And they went to Massey, which is the only place you can do vet school in New Zealand. They come back and they literally said, you're dreaming. Said, but if you're really serious about it, you should go back to school. So when I turned 24, about 2 days before I turned 25, I started back at school and did sixth form and seventh form. I was only going to do 1 year, I was going to do sixth form, but when I went and did sixth form, I kind of realised then that the subjects you have to do to become a vet are quite weird. You do physics, chemistry and maths, pure maths, stats, those sort of subjects, and you think, why do I need that to be a vet? But when I went back to sixth form, and I was reasonably good at maths too, but even then I realised, you know what, it's going to take a little bit more work than I thought. I thought if I'm going to give it 6 years of my life, I might as well give it 7 to make sure I get in. Because first year into vet school back in those days, slightly different now, they used to take 50 applicants per year, so you'd be one of about 250 who would enrol. And they'd keep about 5 places aside for people like maybe someone who qualified in Czechoslovakia who had come to New Zealand but their credentials weren't accepted in New Zealand, so they had to do a refresher, so they go straight to second year, but they're still going to do 4 years. So out of the first year, 250 applicants, they'd take 50, 45 odd through. So you've got to be on your game to get through. Having said that, because I was a bit older, I was very focused. A lot of the young ones who go there are just interested in playing rugby and drinking piss. In those days, it was pretty much a guy's career. Now it's very female-oriented now. But they take a whole lot more now. It's a different system now. They don't do a full year at first year, but some of the things you have to study, like physics, you're trying to work out, why am I studying physics to become a veterinarian, you know? Anatomy, yeah, I get that. Yeah, so anyway, it is what it is, so I did it all.
Interesting, man.
Without too much difficulty, so failed one paper along the way, but I think they failed me because I was such a smart ass at vet school. I was always the one answering back a question. And some of those professors used to look at you going, I'll get square with you one day, Molloy. So one day they made me do a special, so it ruined my summer holiday. But apart from that, I breezed through quite easily. So
it's interesting. It's interesting, Leo, because you said you, as an adult student, you were quite focused, and it seems like I've read a lot of stuff on articles about you, and it seems like it's been part of your life. You know, you've just been your life in terms of your focus. You're driven, and I remember I think there's one part where they said if they said to you that you can't do it, you're like, that's not in my vocab.
Yeah, I'm not a can't do person. I'm very much a can do. Find a way to do it. I think that's one of the reasons I'll make a great mayor, is I'll change the culture at council, find a reason to make people's lives better, to lift them up rather than put them down. So that's always been the way I've been in life. And you're right, the more that people say you can't do, the more I get determined. That mad pig-headed Irish side comes out and you go, you know what, I can do it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Even if a couple of times I've been getting a decent beating, I don't mind a bit of a rumble now and again. And halfway through, the blokes go, you had enough yet? No, I fucking haven't, mate. Let's keep going. So, it doesn't very often work out well.
Just keep going.
But you've got that mad mental deranged side of you that says, I'm not going to give in to anyone, no matter how much pain. I've done a little bit of marathon running and stuff as well.
Wow.
I did a coast-to-coast once, but only the team event. But I foolishly agreed to do the run over the hill. It was the year that they called it off because of the bad weather, but I'd already gone well through the pass before they called it off. But they helicoptered the last half of the field out. And then did the bike legs. That was quite a challenge because running that marathon up over Arthur's Pass, if anybody knows Arthur's Pass down the west coast, it's quite a steep pass, and you run up it's like a goat track, but it goes through a creek, and the boulders are literally as high. Well, I'm not very tall, but they're your height, and the water cascading down, and you're up to your chest in water, and you're thinking, why am I doing this shit? But you just keep going through the pain barrier, and it's kind of like inspirational. And then when it's over, you feel really good about yourself. So,
Wow. Where does that drive come from? Like, Were you born like that? Like, was there something that you?
It's probably in your DNA.
Yeah.
I mean, I think my whole family are like it to some extent. You know, we're backless from Struggle Street, so that's probably why I resonate with so many people. You know, from Struggle Street, because you just realise that life's not always easy. Not very many people get it handed to them on a plate in this world, particularly in a country like New Zealand. As I said before, in England, you know, the class system up there is so easy for some people. You're born with a title, and you're born with 10,000 acres. You're born with a roller and a chauffeur. Yeah. And where I come from, I never had any jeans when I left school. I'd never seen a pair of jeans. So, you know, Mum would go and kill a sheep, get some turnips out of the paddock. You know, we're brought up on food that you wouldn't even look at now. But in those days, it was always there. We were always grateful for it. So none of us went hungry. None of us were short of love. Wow. But we certainly come from by today's standards, a fairly humble background. So,
and that's the thing, Leo, because I don't think people who may not know you really well think, oh, did you see Leo? He's a candidate for me. They go, oh, he's very rich, you know, all that kind of stuff, and they don't realise, hey, you've been through the struggle, you've been through hardship. Yeah,
but even that myth, that's a myth now. You know, I mean, I read that in the paper all the time. But I live in a small apartment. I don't have much in the way of assets. You know, I've got a couple little bits and pieces, but I've worked hard for everything I've got. I've got 5 kids. They take some looking after, so they're expensive little units to run. I've got 3 at uni at the moment. One's rowing. He's in the New Zealand under-21 team. I think he just won a medal at the North American Champs. He's been over rowing at Henley and on Thames and the Royal Regatta. They won 2 races up there before they got knocked out. But he's a good boy, Harry. And then I've got the second one's 3rd year at Canterbury doing criminology, Amelia Jane. Oh. Wow. She's a wee sausage. So I split from my wife about 8 years ago. The wife wanted to leave, which is, I don't have any problem with that sort of thing, because if you're not in love, you're no point in staying together. So she took the kids and left, but it's been quite a traumatic 8 years, because we've been in and out of the family court, and this is getting pretty personal now, but I don't mind sharing the story, because a lot of people go through the same thing. And a couple of the kids haven't spoken to me for about 5 years, even though I still support them financially and in every possible way I can. But the reason I'm telling you that for context is Amelia, the one who's 3rd year doing criminology at Canterbury. You might remember about 2 years ago I got convicted for naming Grace Mullane's killer. And I did that with a considerable amount of knowledge behind me, and it was a considered decision to do it, because he worked for my sister in a pub, which I didn't own, but I used to help one of my sisters, Julie. And he lived incredibly with the daughter of one of my other sisters, my younger sister, Trace, whose birthday it is today. So, Trace, happy birthday. They're down at the lake at Lake Canary down behind Hokitika. But he lived with Millie Rose, Trace's daughter, who's now married to a policeman. And so I knew all about his behaviour, and I knew that he was a serial killer, or he was going to be a serial killer. The Crown Star witness was also, she had to pretend she was dead before he'd let her go. He got off her. So it's amazing he didn't get charged twice with attempted murder and murder. But I named him on purpose, because my view is, and I've never apologised for it, and the police and the judiciary have been to me many times, the police told me they're divided about 90-10, that I should never have been charged for it, that I just did the right thing. But I've never apologised for it. And the media never care about it. And I've never, you know, it hasn't been an impediment to me in any way, shape or form. Things like the Mayoral test never been brought up. And if people do bring it up, I proudly own it. So what?
It's cool.
You know, I did the right thing. I'll go to my grave being happy. I don't care about the conviction part of it. I mean, the Commissioner of Police in New Zealand, Mike Bush, had a conviction his entire working life. Didn't stop him. So if it didn't stop him, why would it stop me? I've travelled since. I've been to Rarotonga, I've been to Fiji, and my lawyers tell me I can go anywhere in the world and I won't be stopped. I'm going to go I go to Vegas every second year to a particular conference around the end of November, early December, so I'm going to go up there again this year and test if I can get into the US of A, but I think I will. I think I'll be fine. So, but anyway, the reason I started telling you that story is Amelia rang my girlfriend at the time and said, can you tell Dad to pull his head in? So she's 3rd year criminology at Canterbury, right? So I've replied through my girlfriend at the time, I said, we call Amelia Mouse. I said, send Mouse a text back and say, what have I got to pull my head in for, because I'm not sure what I've done wrong. And she said, tell Dad I'm in a criminology lecture. There's 150 students here, and the subject of today's lecture is Leo Molloy and breaching suppression orders. And 149 other students are looking at me and pointing and laughing. So, so yeah. And the 3rd one, believe it or not, is studying political science at Auckland University. So, and I've still got 2 at secondary school. So.
Wow. How do you juggle all that Leo, because a lot of men think, oh, well, and so you seem like you're really multitasking, so you get your kids, you get the business.
Yeah, well, I run on pretty high octane fuel, and I always have, so I'm not a very good sleeper. I have to manage my sleeping really carefully, otherwise I get no sleep at all. My brain never stops working. I actually wondered, based on the fact that so many people said I was, whether I was ADHD once, but I went to the doctor and asked him to do a sort of diagnostic test on me. He said there's no chance, mainly because I went through vet school, and fourth year at vet school you do 40 hours of lectures a week, no prac, so you've got to sit through 40 hours, so 4 hours, 1 hour break, 4 hours every day. So he said it's not possible to be ADHD and do that. But I definitely am slightly manic. I'm busy all the time, and I enjoy it. I like being busy. And I have 80 staff when we at headquarters. We closed headquarters 6 weeks ago, so we're down to probably 10 staff now. But it's not unusual for me to be juggling 80-odd staff at a time. And I don't find it too difficult. I mean, I get up every morning, 6:30, go to the gym 3 days a week. If I'm not going to the gym, I'm out doing something else. I go to work, juggle 3 or 4 jobs, and then I finish every night like this, about 8:30, 9, 10.
That's crazy.
In fact, it was 11 o'clock last night when I finished, so and it's every day. So.
Because, obviously when we talk about a lot of, obviously the whole premise is about helping other men, encouraging other men, Leo, as obviously your goal setting. And so do you just kind of, I know a lot of people write down goals and so forth. Do you just write them down, or you just off the cuff, this is what I'm going to do?
I've only ever done that once, and it was, funny enough, it was first year at vet school. And because I was an adult student, I come in for a lot of criticism. I don't know why, but New Zealand tall poppy. And there's a few blokes saying, why are you wasting your time and everyone else's time, and the people who support you, you're never going to make this and never achieve it. So there's 4 of them in particular. So I wrote their names on the back of the door of my room at the hostel at Massey University. And every time I felt like going out and getting a burger or going for a beer, I'd look at their 4 names and I'd go back to the desk and start working again. So it's the only time I've ever done that, is using negative for motivation. But other than that, I'm fairly naturally motivated. I have like epiphany type moments. The one with the hospitality in 91, that was like an epiphany moment, and that worked out quite well for 30 years. But the Mayoral thing came down to largely the performance or lack of performance of Auckland Transport. I had a bad experience with them, and I thought then, this is July last year, in case you're wondering. So I thought then, this is not how life should be in a sophisticated city. You shouldn't be treated this badly as a ratepayer. So I put my hand up and said, I think I'll run for mayor just to solve this one little problem. And within probably about a week, I would have had 100, 200 people reach out to me and say, you know what, you're a perfect fit for this city. Even though I'm not political, I have no political experience. And then it got its own momentum. So even if I'd wanted to back out, I couldn't have. But the more layers I peeled back, the more problems I realised the city had, and the more I wanted to help. I don't know if you know this about my past, but I have for quite some years now been working with people. You've had Butterbean here, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a huge fan of Dave Latally, and I'm an even bigger fan of his father and mother, Tui and Dave Sr. I love those sort of stories. I love the stories about people who look at the options in life and say, you know what, I can be lazy and deal in drugs and become a gangster, or I can work hard and be something. And to me, Dave Latally Sr. is a fantastic... Do you know his story?
No,
He's the most humble man. So he was president of the mob at 19, and his darling wife Tui had a piece in the Herald the other day. He went to jail. He did 6 years in Parry, he told me. Don't know what for. I've never asked what for, but he's an absolutely inspirational man. And Dave Jr. is just as inspirational. The work he does in the community and his work ethic and the way he surrounds himself with people and inspires them I just love being in those guys' company. In fact, I think when's this podcast going live? So I might let out a secret here.
Oh,
when will it go to here?
Probably
2,
the next
3 weeks.
2 weeks.
Oh, perfect. I can say it now then. So we're having a surprise party for Dave on Saturday for his book.
Oh,
Which
yes.
I'm quite looking
That's
forward
right,
to.
yes.
So yeah.
Oh, what? We're releasing tomorrow.
But yeah, I'm huge fans of people like David Talley and the work they do in the community. So
he speaks really highly of you too, by
he
the way.
does.
Yeah.
we have a certain symbiosis, if that's the right word. We're very different people. Like clearly he's about 3 times the size that I am. And in case you hadn't noticed, he's got different colour skin. But we seem to get on really well, and I thoroughly enjoy his company. He's actually on my campaign committee for the mayoralty, and he's running for a local ward. I think he's better than that. I know you've got to start somewhere in politics, but me, I start at the top and then work down from there. He's going the other way, starting at the bottom, but I think one day he's definitely going to be he's already a leader of men, but he's going to be a leader of men in a significant way in New Zealand. So I mentioned before we went live about I met Willie Appiata today. That's the first time I've met Willie, and I was in awe of him. I nearly took a knee when I met him. He shook my hand twice, and I didn't wash my hands. I even said to him, I said, I'm not really a hero worship guy. To me, everybody's equal, and if you meet a person and drill down, we've all got faults, and most of us got some good points too. But I think I always have pictures, black and white pictures in my hospitality outlets of people who I worship. So, and most of them are artists, like the Rolling Stones and Well, Jagger's an obvious one, but people like Freddie Mercury, for example, George Michael, 80s style music guy. So, and I started putting a couple of New Zealanders up, and I started with AJ Hackett, who I have met quite a few times, but mainly because of the way he created like a whole industry out of nothing and what he did in the Eiffel Tower. And then I thought I'll put a few other New Zealanders up. So I was lucky enough to know Sir Colin Meads for the last few years of his life, so I put him up. Then I thought, why stop there? I'll put Edmund Hillary up too, who I've never met, but I'm a huge fan of Edmund Hillary and what he did. And I'm in awe of what he did, actually. I'm not just a fan. And I put Conor McGregor up because I'm the mad Irish guy.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah. And I put a few others up, and then I thought, you know what? I might just put a picture of Willie Apiata up too. So I did. Do you know the one from Afghanistan when he came out of that building when they say that he chutneyed those Taliban boys?
Yeah,
it's a classic picture. Yeah, so we actually had it with us today. We went to see him,
mate. He's
and he showed us a medal today, which we're going to auction for a friend who's in a wee bit of bother at the moment. And I said I might buy the medal myself because he's only given 2 away. It was I suppose you call it coined or minted just for him, probably for when he got his VC. But the other person he gave one to was Barack Obama.
Wow.
So I thought that's pretty cool, isn't it? If he's going to give you, he let me take a picture of him with the medal. So.
Oh.
And I really had a fanboy moment. I nearly melted when I met him. Funny thing was, I pulled up in my car. I drive quite a big V8 Jag thing. And there's a bloke in a ute beside me, and it had a rack on the top of it, and it hadn't been washed for about 2 years by the look of it. And it had quite tinted windows, and I get out. He had the back door of his ute open, and I opened my front door. I thought, I hope that bloke doesn't damage my flash Jaguar. And I went to push past him, and you're Willie Apiata. And straight away, I just went straight into I was like a 12-year-old. I'm sorry for intruding, sir. But he was so nice, and he wasn't as big as I thought he was. I've seen him before once. We used to have a bar in Queenstown, which the ex-wife's got now, called Cowboys. So she's still got it. It's a good bar. But I used to like going to Queenstown for Gay Ski Week, because when you get down there amongst all the gay people, they behave so badly. It's so much fun to be down there. Literally, no one knows how to party like those guys do, trust me.
Is there something you want to tell us something?
There has been a lot of accusations, but no, I'm not. I'm very tolerant, though, very socially liberal. But anyway, he was down there with Stephen Adams and a few of the other boys. And I reminded him today, I said, I saw you down at Queenstown, and you're at the Novotel, and with Stephen Adams, and he named he had a few other SAS boys with him too. But there's quite a few other of the big boys from the US of A who play basketball, and with Stephen Adams. So it was quite interesting to see them walking around, because I wasn't there. Oh, I'm a fanboy. Obviously, there's a lot of fangirls waiting in the lobby for those boys to walk past. Then we've got a bucking bullet Cowboys down there, and they came and rode the bull and shit like that. So it was fun.
Mate.
Anyway, so I've got Hillary and I've got Apiata, and that kind of tells you what I am as a person. The fact that who you worship defines you. Well, you know what I mean. They inspire you. They don't define you, but they inspire you. So
yeah,
man, that's awesome. I'm a little bit curious about sort of some of the role models you might have had growing up that helped influence you.
Yep. So because Dad died young, I always felt there's a big vacuum for a male role model in my life. So there's a fellow who's long dead called Peter Pinnock, who was a horse trainer. So he got me into the horse side of the business. So he was kind of a role model, but he's not a man of great significance. But he was a good man to me because he filled a big role for me. Other than that, I don't know if it's been too many. I mean, I'm respectful of people, but I'm an egalitarian too. You know, I don't believe in class systems, and I absolutely definitely don't believe in royalty. I mean, I was lucky enough to work in a very good job in England, and the Queen was the main patron of the stables. I've met her quite a few times. But to me, she was just a pasty old woman with a stoop who wore funny clothes. And we had to call her mum, but I used to look at her and think, you know what? I'm an Irish Catholic. I could have been in the IRA if I'd stayed an item. I didn't. I'm in New Zealand. But I could just reach out and grab you while you're scoring the link now. And when she used to come down, they'd tell you, I used to wear an earring, and they'd tell you the night before, take the earring out, Mum's coming tomorrow. It's how bizarre they are over there. So I'd take the earring out. So I always knew, had plenty of warning. And she'd arrive in a little short wheelbase Land Rover. She used to wear olive green all the time. Olive green raincoat, olive green boots. And she's got pasty skin. And she was old then. This is going back quite some time. This is 40 years ago. I can only imagine how old she looks now. But she'd bring one security guy with her, and she'd arrive about 7 in the morning, so about half an hour after we started work. And she'd just walk around the boxes and just like a normal person. And she's always fascinated with me because obviously I talk a lot, and I talk with a strong accent. She'd always say the same thing to me. Now, tell me about yourself. Well, I only told you 3 months ago. You haven't got a very good memory, have you? I didn't make an impression on you last time, but anyway, let's do it again. So tell her exactly the same story again.
Oh, she must have really liked you up there.
Well, she'd like me because I don't subscribe to the class system. I talk to her like a normal person. Whereas all the other lads will walk around, oh my God, the Queen's coming, do your hair, you know, pluck your eyebrows and stand up straight. To me, she's just another person. So
Yeah.
I think can I say they're slightly inbred? Who cares? They're not going to see this podcast. They are. When you look at them, none of them are any good at academia. None of them are much good at sport. You know, they play polo, which most rich people do. But other than that, they don't get particularly good degrees at university. They all go to the military, with nothing wrong with being in the military, but none of them have been rocket scientists to my knowledge, and none of them have cured cancer, so I don't understand why they get all this. They've got castles everywhere and there's all these poor people sleeping in the street. Well, how do you reconcile that? It's bizarre. Thank God we don't have that system in New Zealand. You know? Lucky we have it all. You know, do you think everybody's equal in New Zealand within reason?
Yeah.
I mean, some people, you know, don't quite get the opportunities that they should. But within reason in New Zealand, if you really, really, really want to make it, you can make it in New Zealand. You'll get your chance. So.
Man, I love you bring that up, Leo. If you really, really want it, you can make it. And just in terms of like some of the what do you sense? What do you see out there in some of the societal pressures for men and so forth as to why a lot of men just do not achieve their potential?
I tell you the interesting thing now is mental health, because when I was a kid, no one cared about mental health. I'm lucky I've had good health my whole life. I've had a couple of broken bones and stuff, but nothing major, but I've always had good health. But I didn't miss a single day at school through sickness, mainly because if you were a crook, mum would say, well, did you eat your breakfast? Yes, I did. We'll get to school then. So you never had a choice.
Wow.
You nearly had to be dead before she'd let you have a day off school. So it's easier just to go to school. And then you learn not to worry or share. You know, you just deal with your shit. But nowadays, in a modern world, people always want to tell you how they're suffering, but you've got to learn to adjust because it's real. Mental health is real. I know some very high-profile people who have openly discussed their health issues, in particular, for example, JK, Sir John Kerwin, Mike King, who I think are great human beings for what they've done in that space. But in my day, that would never have happened. No one would have shared that. I guess it's complicated now by social media. I think a lot of it is contributed to by social media. As I said before, I never had a pair of jeans when I left school. I didn't own any of those sort of clothes because we didn't have any money, or mum didn't. But nowadays, if you haven't got the right jeans or the right style of belt or the right shoes, you somehow, you know, social media makes you feel inferior. And I think that's wrong. I really genuinely think social media has a lot to answer for. And I worry about where society's going to go with the pressure of social media. It's easy for someone like me because, you know, I've pretty much within reason had the majority of my life. But when you see kids coming through now, young kids, and all they want to do is measure themselves against the Kardashians or someone on Instagram, that's wrong.
Yeah.
That's not how life should be. So I guess where did we get to with that question? I can't remember where we started.
Oh, no, that's good. I was just thinking that, I just wanted to say that, hey, maybe do you think that a lot of our men or even young men out there just kind of not mentally strong, or do you think they're kind of weak? Or
well, when you think about how the brain matures and evolves, as I said before, I've had a lot of issues with the kids with our separation in the family court, and you get a lot of mentoring from the family court. You've got access to counsellors, some of which you've got to pay for, but even a judge will give you friendly advice because he said we deal with this all the time. This is normal, you know. And you think, why does my own flesh and blood not want to reach out to me and, you know, come stay with me and cuddle me and go skiing with me or something? But the judge goes, you're lucky, you know, you've got 2 of the 5 who talk to you. A couple of the others will text occasionally, but not often. But you think, I just want to be with them. But you've got to learn that it's not how life works. And their brains are not at a stage where they understand what it's like to be a father. So I look at it the same way as when you see kids now, when they detach or disconnect or dislocate from the church, I'm still within reason Catholic, spiritual. I don't go to Mass every week or anything like that, but I don't like it when I see kids who disconnect from the whānau, if that's how you say it correctly, and from the church.
Yeah.
And I see these kids get into a space where the things that they care about are whether they can have a patch, buy a gram of some shit to show up their nose or something. And I don't see that as being a good solution. I understand why they do it. Short term, you know, riding a Harley, wearing a patch, girls, drugs, life's good in it. But they all get hollowed out. Funny enough, that guy from the Angels, Sonny Badger, died the other day. And I read his book. I've spent a bit of time up in North America. He comes from a place called, it's between, I think you drive from Vegas down to Phoenix and you go through this place. I'm trying to remember the name of where he come from. But anyway, I read his book. He was a vet, as a veterinarian. No, as a army vet, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm confusing my vets now. But I read his book and I thought to myself, if you're the head of the Angels and those guys are pretty staunch, you know, they never lack for women and company and stuff, you'd think you'd have a full, fulfilled life. But in his book, he said how empty he felt at the end of it. He was hollowed out. He had nothing for all the, you know, what he might have thought was fun at the time that he did. All the money that he had and the deals they did, and, you know, a lot of it was violent too as well. But he felt like an empty person. And I think the essence of life really is your family. So anybody who thinks as their kids, they just don't see it that way. But as you get older, you realise when you're looking backwards through the rear vision mirror, if only, more family. That's one of the things I love about the Māori, is that they have that amazing ability to have, you know, their families blend and they're integrated, and is it the whakapapa? Is that how you?
Yeah, the whakapapa, yeah.
We don't have any of that as Europeans, you know. Like, I know my genealogy within reason. I know when my family left Ireland, when they were kicked out of Ireland. Indentured slaves, where they went to and how they drifted into New Zealand, chasing the gold, but doing what you'd probably call shit work, doing timber and roads and drains and stuff. Nothing flash. But we don't have the layers that when you talk to people up north and they say to you, well, are you Ngāpuhi or what are you? And you tell them what you are. And then they start talking about, oh, my grandmother, she was married to your cousin. And we don't have any of that stuff, you know, and we're poorer people for it. So I look forward to the day when New Zealand, Aotearoa, whatever you want to call it, will be like the All Blacks, when it will be completely blended and looked at as one. But, you know, the days, or some days now, you look at people and you think, why do they even look at the world through that lens? You hear things when you're out and people go, oh, yeah, that's not right. I'll give you an example. So there's a lot of issues around co-governance now with things like Three Waters and stuff. And I always explain to people, co-governance is like being in a rally car with the driver sitting in the passenger seat doing the, whatever you call it, navigating, whatever they call it. Can't think of the proper name. But the sum of the two pieces makes you look great. If you took one away, the other one can't do it without each other. And the good thing about Māori in particular is that their idea of ownership is more about guardianship, whereas the Europeans, if you own it, you own it. It's yours. But I don't see it that way. You know, like Bastion Point's a great example. You know what happened there with Joe Hawke after 500 days of occupation? The government finally capitulated and said, you're right, it's yours, it belongs to you, and handed it back. And the first thing Joe Hawke did was give it back to them. Said, we'll be the guardians, but you can have it back. Now, to me, that's true. That's how life should be, but it's not how it is, but it's how it should be. So
it's cool. I like the way you think, because you talked about hardship, and there's a lot of people facing hardship. And just wondering for you, Leo, was there ever a time you feel like, mate, oh man, life just sucks, mate?
Yep. I've been in that position a lot of times. I went bankrupt in 2003. My phone stopped ringing. I went from owning Euro, which was in the top 50 restaurants in the world in its first year, when I didn't see it at the time, but everybody wanted a piece of you because they thought you were something special. And then 2003, I got too carried away, thought I was invincible, infallible, overextended myself, did something extravagant, didn't have it funded correctly, couldn't trade my way out of it, had no choice but to go bankrupt. And phone stopped ringing, didn't go for 3 years. So you went from being everybody's friend, you know, forever in a helicopter or going somewhere to private golf courses and stuff, and suddenly you were just on the scrap heap of life.
Wow.
So you have to learn to be humble and take your medicine. But I've learned well and truly that even in a city like Auckland, where it's not too hard to be somebody, it's a very shallow, superficial life you have, really. I mean, I keep referencing this, but at the end of the world, it's families where it begins and families where it ends. So if you've got family, you're lucky.
Wow.
In terms of those times where it was a struggle for you and you went bankrupt, like, what was it like emotionally? Like, were you rock bottom for a while, or?
I was rock bottom. We were well and truly rock bottom. We lost everything. Yeah. Cars, houses, a lot. So I had to go back and start doing a normal job again. Yeah. Working hard. Lucky my wife stuck with me. We had 3 more children after that. Little gifts from God there. So, but yeah, it was definitely a challenge. I mean, you always feel like people are talking about you afterwards, and it takes years to recover. And just very occasionally, not for a long time, but very occasionally people would drop it into a conversation when they wanted to just put a wee barb on your back, quite often in front of your face, you know. Or in fact, someone told me today that they, citizens and ratepayers who have a candidate for the mayoralty, one of their principals today said at a public thing, how could anybody believe in Leo Molloy? He's been bankrupt. But, it was 20 years ago. I learnt my lesson.
Yeah.
I've never even looked like making the same mistake again.
Yeah.
Everything I do now, I always factor the risk in. Whereas those days I thought I could do anything. So you learn from your experiences, and no one's perfect. It's like, remember Ed Moses, the great hurdler? He hit one hurdle in his life and fell over. Do people remember him for the one hurdle he hit, or for the 10,001 that he flew over like a leaping stag, and all the gold medals he won? It depends how you want to be remembered, isn't it? Should you remember a person for one indiscretion, or should you remember them for all the good things they do? So,
does that ever get frustrating? Where some of the media, they expect someone who's going into this leadership role to be unrealistically perfect, and then for them to nitpick and bring up, I'm sure they repeat some of the same narratives over and over again.
Okay, so there's a couple of questions wrapped into one there. So firstly, with the media, for about 20 years, I think I might have been a victim of the media, but I'm not particularly media friendly. I have learned to be media friendly in recent years, mainly because I realise with the path that I've chosen to take in life now, I have to work with them. So I'm normally quite cooperative and communicative with them. That said, they haven't actually been too hard on me the last couple of years. For a long time, they were quite bitter and cruel to me. But in recent years, probably COVID's been in a weird way, because I never ever talked much about the veterinary side of my life. It's just not something I talk about. But in recent times with COVID, I've become something of a spokesperson for small business, and because I understand epidemiology and virology and stuff, infectious diseases and pandemics, and coronavirus is a common, it's what they call a zoonosis. So it's the third zoonosis we've had from the coronavirus family this century. We had SARS and MERS as well. So as a veterinarian, you know a wee bit about it, and you get the opportunity to speak. And because of lockdown, in the absence of anybody else with a loud voice, I started to speak on behalf of small business in the inner city, and the inner city has been torn apart during lockdowns the last 2 years. And then people started feeding me information, like Professor Rod Jackson, who's quite a well-known academic, professor of epidemiology at Auckland University. He started saying to me, you've got a louder voice than any of us, and people listen to you. Why don't you start taking this information and presenting it to people about things like mRNA technology and why you shouldn't be scared of being vaccinated? Speaking of which, I'm having my 4th vaccine tomorrow, so quite looking forward to that. And I've had the virus as well. So very soon I'll start to glow in the dark. You won't need that light. I'll be like a little green dwarf walking around the dark. But yeah, so yeah, it's a weird world. But the media, once you start talking about things like epidemiology and mRNA technology, they look at you differently. They start saying, didn't know that about him. I just thought he just poured piss for a living. Some sort of obnoxious little wharf rat who just ran out abusing people and pouring piss. But anyway, nowadays, they're quite good now. So yeah, we've reached... it's like a bitter feud that goes on for years and years and years, and in the end, someone's got to wave the white flag. And as I said, they hardly ever do anything inappropriate. They still criticise me, but fairly. Whereas in days gone by, they might have been a bit unfair.
Yeah. Sounds a lot like siblings.
Leo, just in terms of sorry, I'm going back to those rock bottom moments, and because a lot of our men, sometimes when we hit rock bottom, it's our response. Like, how do we respond? And a lot of us just either camp there,
yep,
and then real paralyzed in terms of how to get out. Like for you, what were some key factors in terms of you, the turning point or getting out of it? Were there a circle? Or?
I think I'm probably pretty much a blue sky guy. I'm always looking for hope. I'm very much a windscreen guy, not a rear vision mirror guy. If it's happened, it's happened. It's in the past, it's in the past. So I'm also reasonably innovative and creative. So I'm always looking for an opportunity. I have had the odd dark moment when I thought, you know what, feeling of hopelessness, but I've never been consumed by it. I've felt it, and you feel like you're drowning, but I'm never the guy who's going to stop swimming. I'll just find a way to get back to shore. So that's what I do. So I'm pretty stubborn. I don't wave the white flag terribly easily. So I guess I'm lucky in that sense. I can always draw on my inner strength, but not everybody has that capacity or that ability.
Yeah.
But I would always encourage people to never give up. You will find blue sky somewhere, no matter what predicament you're in, no matter how bad things are.
Yeah.
If you look, if you ask, if you reach out to your bros, or you can even get professional help, whatever.
Yeah.
I have a very good mate who I won't mention what profession he's in, but he, first appearances, appears to have done marvellously well in life. He's something of a superstar if you measure people by money.
Yeah.
But about 2 or 3 years ago, he started having some issues, and he rang me up and said, what can I do? I got tipped off by a few of his friends first, and they said, you got to talk to this chap because he's really going through a difficult patch. So I put him in touch with Sir John Kerwin, who very kindly helped him. And he's fine now after about 3 years, but I went and stayed with him a couple of weeks ago, and he's radiating good health and glowing, and he talks quite openly about it, but you would never pick it. He was a really good rugby player. He's a fine cut of a man. He's got kids and a lovely wife and plenty of assets, but he was battling with the demons for a while and the feeling of hopelessness.
Yeah.
He thought there was no way out, yet he had everything. Every one of us who looked at him thought, my God, here's a bloke who's got everything and you're still battling your demons. So all I would say is just don't give up. Look for some blue sky, you'll find it somewhere. And I was given some good advice once by a guy who's he probably doesn't come from the right side of the tracks, but I ran into him in a situation where I find myself in a bit of a predicament. I was battling with a couple of the naughty boys in town, and I wouldn't wave the white flag, and nor would they. And they were threatening me with all sorts of things, and I refused to back down. And he come to me and he said, look, here's the deal. And he's the one who said it to me, that gave me that metaphor about looking. He said, just keep looking through the front windscreen, don't look in the revision mirror, you'll be fine. So I've used it a lot since to help people. And I think it's a good way to think about life, You can't change your past. What can you do? If you make a mistake, everyone's human. You can't back the truck up and relive your life, You've got to own it. And in a strange way, once you own it, admit it and deal with it, it's like a weight off your shoulders. It's like my bankruptcy. I never apologise for it, or my conviction. I never apologise for it. It's life. And I've never said I was perfect. I don't think the media want me to be perfect. The media want you to be colourful and give them sound bites now. So there's enough vanilla people in the world who never do anything or say anything. And when someone comes along who's got a bit of personality and wears weird clothes like I do and behaves inappropriately like I do, it's kind of like a novelty. So, and I've learned to accept the fact a long time ago that New Zealand's a tall poppy country, but if you own your strengths and your weaknesses and you don't apologise, and what's the point in moderating anything anyway? What are you going to go through your life being an actor? You're going to pretend you're something you're not? How long can you go on pretending for?
Yeah.
I've seen good politicians like Judith Collins, who was known as Crusher, and then the party pulled her out of shape trying to change her into something that she wasn't. You can't go through your life living a lie, because how do you remember, if you're living a lie, how do you remember which part of your life's a lie and which part's real? Yeah. It's like telling lies, literally. If you go to a dinner party and tell a whole lot of lies, you can't remember who you told lies to, and a year later you tell a different story and people go, he's a liar. What's the point? Just tell the truth.
That's so true. Good advice.
Well, it's life, isn't it? Yeah.
It's quite refreshing because we know that you're on this path to become mayor, and when a lot of the politicians, we don't trust them, and it's because we know that sometimes once they get there, or a lot of them are always acting. So and for you, we'll sit it down with you, and we just we love this freshness of truth and you being you, and you're earning it. So how do you navigate through that? Because you're going into this.
Well, I'll tell you how I navigate through it. I don't listen to them. I have coaches now all the time trying to pull me out of shape. Don't use that word. Don't use that word. Don't say that. Don't insult that person. Don't try and be funny. Don't. And I get sick of the don'ts. You can't do. As I said before, I'm not a can't do person. So I never, ever take notes to a speech. And my view, and I tell them all the time, we have a full-time comms person who used to write speeches for me, and I'd say, you might as well throw it in the bin. I've got no interest in saying what you think. I'm going to say what I think, and it comes from here.
Wow, that's awesome.
And the day that I can't say it from here, I shouldn't be saying it.
Wow.
Because if I'm not speaking from my heart, how can I have a value system if it doesn't come from here? If it comes from some comms person who gets paid a whole lot of money to write speeches for me, and going back to the politicians thing, how I measure them is you listen to what they say and whether they can answer a question. The ones who are genuine, who are worthwhile and worth listening to, will answer a question. The ones who don't, who shimmy all the time. Now, I've got some who I have affection for. Old Winston. I love old Winston. He's a good old bugger. No, I'm quite
Uncle Winnie.
He is a good bugger. But he never answers a question. And no matter what you ask him, he'll always come up with, let me tell you now, by the time the election comes around, I will give you all the detail and fine print on that. Next question, please. Winston, answer the bloody question, you old bastard. But he doesn't, And I've got people now trying to coach me saying, don't ever answer the question. Shimmy your way out of it. Blame central government. But I'm not that guy, so. And even when I become mayor, I want to be a person that everybody in the street, even though I said before it gets a bit stressful at times, I want to be a guy who walks down the street without security, just on my own, wander down. I do it now. I wander up Queen Street and Fort Street in those areas, the tough parts of town. 90% of those guys up there know who I am. I never feel unsafe, and I always want to be that guy. And people can say, that's him over there. If you want to get it sorted out, ask him. That's the sort of mirror I want to be. So,
mate, that's some great advice, Leo. Because I love the fact that you are yourself. You're genuine. You're authentic, and you're right. I think when you get into politics, like you're saying, that they're trying to change you, and this is what you need to do. This is what you need to say. But I love the fact that you really stand on your conviction, and you say, hey, no, this is who I am. So I'm just thinking, because it has to come from somewhere, because your mental fortitude is strong, Leo. Like you said, you have to look for the blue skies, the silver lining. So I'm just wondering, I'm just assuming, is it your mom? Is there some of the values that
yeah? So mum was she worked in the mine at Roa, ROA, which is just through Blackball. It's closed now, the Roa mine. She worked in the office, but she married at 19 to Dad. Dad was a soldier. He went to war at 21, Second World War. And he come home and he was a bit older than her, obviously, but mum was incredibly strong mentally. So the mere fact that she was widowed at 33 and she brought all his kids up, and as I said, we never lacked for food or love. Might not have had much by way of material possessions, but she was a great staunch mum. She died 8 years ago, but we still. Funny enough, I was talking to my very dear friend John Banks the other day, twice Mayor of Auckland, who I'm close to, and I often go. We just have coffee together and talk rubbish together. We're just mates. And he calls me Legend, and he said, Legend, you know why you're doing this, don't you? I said, why am I doing this, Banksy? He said, you're doing it for mum. That's mum's long dead, but, you know that's why you do it. You do it because it's the same old story, family values, you respect your family. You inherit through DNA. You inherit the skills, whatever skills you get, whatever talents you're given from God or whatever, from your parents, and that's what you are, so.
It's incredible, because your mental toughness, I love the mental toughness. I think a lot of us as men need to have that mental toughness in this day and age. And for you to just say that, hey, I just keep going.
So I think it's a balance, though, between toughness and sharing the burden. It's easy to be staunch and tough and lock it up, and funny enough, I'm sure I'm allowed to drop his name one more time, Willie Apiata today.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I've got a bloke who's known to him, I'm just trying to help a wee bit at the moment. And I said, he's just got himself into a bit of a corner, and he's just struggling a bit with the post-traumatic stress disorder. Yeah. And Willie said to me, bro, we all have that. And there's a guy there who's decorated, VC, and he said, we all have that. So if the people like Willie Apiata have that, and they can own it, I can own a few dark moments, doesn't bother me. I mean, I'm lucky, I'm a bit staunch and a bit stronger than most people, but the reality is everybody has dark moments. So.
Yeah. I love what you said, like navigating between. It's a fine balance between mental toughness and sharing the board.
Keeping it in. No one wants to show weakness, And in New Zealand society, traditionally, you're supposed to be hard. Your job is to be tough. Your job is to be Colin Meads, carry the ball in one hand, play on with the broken arm, or Buck Shelford. Someone rips your scrotum open, so what? Play on.
Yeah, that's right.
But everybody in the world has moments when they need to share.
Yeah.
When you have someone to confide in. It might not necessarily be one of your bros, it might be your girlfriend. It might be your partner. Anybody.
Yeah.
But sharing it sometimes is the right thing to do. So no one likes someone who wants to spend their whole life crying on your shoulder. But by the same token, I've got plenty of big strong mates who don't mind sharing.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good thing. I've got to say, I'm not a person who does it a lot, but if I needed to, I wouldn't have any compunction about doing it. I'd reach out if I needed help.
That's good.
I'm trying to think if I ever have. I can't remember doing it, but I'm sure sometimes in a week. I ring my kids quite often and say, Dad doesn't feel great today, just to hear their voice. Yeah, I suppose that's the same thing, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
But no, I don't think it's anything to be embarrassed about or to run from. We just have different ways of different degrees of it and different ways of dealing with it, and some of us have a better skill set to deal with it. So, as I said before, I'm a very much a look through the front windscreen, look for the blue sky man.
Yeah.
Not everybody's that way inclined, so I don't expect everybody to have my value systems, that's for sure. I'd feel sorry for them if they did.
And it's cool coming from you, because you've got long-lived experience, and so you would have gone through a lot. And so a lot of our viewers, all different age groups, some of them think they know everything and they can be so set in their values, but hearing, like, man, some of the experiences they had and then were looking forward, not looking back, and all of the stuff that you do go through, it just adds more fuel.
Be true to yourself and never, ever, ever get fixated or carried away with materialistic stuff, It doesn't matter what sort of car you drive. A car's a car. I mean, everybody deserves a warm bed and a roof over their head. But if you got that, you're doing okay in life.
Yeah.
And never worry about wearing Versace or that shit. You know, it's all bullshit. You know, just be a normal person. Yeah, the happiest people in the world are often the people who have the least. And I don't know if you go to the Cook Islands very much, but I love going up there because those people are so bloody happy and they ride around on scooters with no helmets on. And But have you ever seen anybody not smiling up there?
No, I haven't been there. I've never been to the Cook Islands.
I've been a dozen times, and I've been thinking about doing a bar up there. I actually bought a place in the viaduct, the building, so I could get some income. I was going to retire before I decided to come here. I bought it about 3 years ago. I was going to go and live in the Cook Islands half the year and come back here half the year because I don't actually like the cold weather and the wet weather. So I love the place up there. I love the attitude. When you go up there, people are so chilled. You know, you go to a cafe and they're wearing a singlet and the woman haven't shaved under their arms and no one cares. And it's such a cool way to live your life. You know?
What do you do looking underneath the
There's this lady in a cafe out there, and she had this T-shirt on, a singlet, and she's like this and big hairy arms and everything. And on the front of it had, even when this virus is gone, I still want to socially distance from you. And I thought, what a good saying. I should have copied it, but they're inspirational when you go out there. You know, they're quality of life, and they've got bugger all. You know, they're not a wealthy. They're kind of like a sub-state of New Zealand, really, aren't they? They use our judicial system and our currency, but you never meet happier people. You know, it's like Fiji. Fijian people are so happy. Having said that, I went up there a month ago, and Fiji's been devastated by the COVID virus. They've lost their mojo up there big time because the old days when everyone was bulla vanaka and stuff. About every second person calls out now, so they've had a hell of a beating up there. They'll come back though. Everybody will come back. You know, the world will, normal service will resume. It'll take a while, but we'll come back.
It's cool, mate. Hey, I guess it's time for us to kind of dive into your campaign and you being mayor. And so, how are you feeling about the campaign? You feel confident?
Well, we started last July, and I took salaried. I started paying consultants in December to write reports and stuff for me, and we took salaried members of staff on in January. So what are we in now? We're July. Tomorrow is the day when you've got the window opens to submit your application to be mayor. So I'll be there at 9 o'clock in the morning, a photo opportunity, and we'll release some policy tomorrow. We've got some exciting policy coming up for the city. I'm very much an activator. Some people like to describe me as a disruptor, which I think is unfair. It kind of implies that you're trying to be an obstacle, whereas I think I'm actually someone who initiates and makes things happen. I always have been. I'm a good creator. I'm a little bit arty deep down, believe it or not. I like design and stuff like that. So I've got plans for the city. I've got big plans for the port's land. It's a beautiful piece of land. There's 3 kilometres of berthage there, 77 hectares. And that land at the moment, I don't want to get too bogged down in money, but that land's worth about probably 12 billion with the ops company and the property company combined. They don't pay $1 of rates, not $1. And they only returned a dividend last year of interim dividend of 2.1. I think they paid 3 million dividend in total. And that's a $12 billion asset. So that's not an asset that's working for the city. And it's the best piece of land in the city. So I've got big plans for the ports. We're engaging and talking to people at the moment about the possibility of bringing the Commonwealth Games here in 2034, which is a big challenge, but there's been some little bit of exploratory work done already by other entities who we're connecting with now across the globe about bringing Comms Games here, which I think would be great for the city because the city needs something to bring it back to life. You know, it's kind of lost the beating heart. And some of the suburbs are still quite strong. I mean, I go out around the burbs, and because I'm in the liquor business, I talk to the liquor suppliers and like the big suppliers like DB and Heineken. I say, it's surprising how well X suburb is doing. Might be Sandringham or something, but the inner city is really suffering. So there's something to be said for bringing the inner city back to life. It's like I use the metaphor often of a giant tree in the forest, where the inner city, the CBD is the trunk, but the root structure reaches right out, you know, from Warkworth down to Pukekohe and blah, blah. And the canopy gives you your nutrition and your shelter, etc., etc. So you can't think, when you're the mayor of a city, you can't think about one suburb or one area, like the Eastern Bays in particular, which is, you know, a popular subject at the moment because of all the flash villas and stuff. But the reality is that a certain type of person can afford to live in those areas and does live in those areas, whereas Auckland is very different. You know, we are an amazing tapestry, Auckland. The number of cultures, the number of languages. I mean, I get around a lot now and meet all the ethnic minorities, and it's extraordinary how many different races and types of people, how many languages are spoken, how many different cultures that are woven together to become the fabric of Auckland society. So I think, it's a big challenge, but I'm going to try and bring the whole city together under in one and do things that are great for everybody rather than just for one part of town.
Yeah. And I do like it, Leo, because you seem like you are for the people. You're out there, you're in the midst, in the thick of things. And, some people, I think mayors in the past were always just up in Upper Auckland, but you go down to the south, you go down to Pukekohe,
Yep.
and you're in the thick of things. You get to talk to people, actually, the actual people on the ground.
Yeah, I'm good at the talking game, and it's interesting. We almost play a game where I can walk up to any table and talk to anyone, and it doesn't matter whether I'm in my own outlet or other outlets. People always say, "How do you do it?" I say, "Well, you just walk up to people and your jaw moves and you start talking, open your mouth and words fall out, and sometimes it's a word salad, sometimes it makes sense." But if you walk up to people and start talking, it's very, very unusual for people not to talk back.
Yeah.
Very occasionally someone will go, "Weirdo, go away." But very, very, very seldom. So yeah, and funny thing is I like pets, surprise, surprise, being a veterinarian. Where's Ty? Is Ty around? Ty's got a little French pug dog, and a turtle dove with her dog at the moment. We took some pictures today. He's only a year old and he terrorises me. His name's Maui. But he likes to do the old shadow boxing thing. Then he'll chase me and I'll chase him and play a game. Then while I'm not watching, he'll walk up behind and bite me on the back of the leg. And the little prick's got little sharp teeth. He actually hurts quite a lot. So it's a bit of I see we put a social media post up with him in my lap today. And it's extraordinary how many people love it when you actually like animals. But I like kids too. So as I said, I'm one of 7 myself and I've got 5 of my own. So
Yeah, that's cool.
So if I find it easy to connect with people through that, there's so many avenues to connect with people.
Yeah, and I think that's very important, Leo, building rapport and building relationships with the actual people around all different diverse cultures and ethnicities. And the cool thing about you, Leo, is that you actually have a plan. You actually have a plan. You have all these things that you want to do for the city. And so I just want to ask you, what do you think about the other candidates?
They're all nice people. So there's about 6 or 8 of them. So I'll focus on the top 2 or 3 that people know their names. So Viv Beck.
Yep.
So she's married to a guy called Paul Quinn, who I've known for some years. He was a very good, he was an ex-cop, but he's a very good rugby player. Played for Mayoral, St. Pat's and Wellington. We have a lot of common friends. He played for Māori All Blacks too. He was on the rugby union for a while, I think, and he did a term for National as a list MP. Viv's a lovely person, so she runs Heart of the City. She spent years at New Zealand Post, then she used to work for a guy called John Allen. She followed him to MFAT, so she worked in diplomatic areas. And then she's been at the Heart of the City for some years. She's a really lovely person. Wayne Brown, he's a funny old bugger, but he's actually quite charming, but he's eccentric, and he still surfs. He's older than me. I reckon he's early 70s. I always say to him, I've carbon dated you. I reckon you're about 1886. So I've just taken the piss out of him. But he's actually quite a charming man. He's not quite as eloquent as I am, and he's not as quick on his feet, not as sharp as I am, but he's still got a lot of redeeming features. He's done well in life. He's a good, solid, genuine human being. Who else is a candidate? Efeso?
Mm-hmm.
Efeso, I worry about Efeso. I think he's a really nice person. I've seen him from text saying, Fess, I'd like to think we could stay mates even after this battle's over. But the reality is we're on different sides of the fence now. And this is not life and death. It's much more serious than that. So I have, to use some warrior-type metaphors, I'm determined to deal to Fess. Even though I think he's got a good heart, I don't think he's the right person for the mayoralty, and I worry he's been a career politician. And I think the city, it's time we moved on from career politicians. So whilst I like Fess, I think he's a great speaker, and I think he's got a good heart. I think he's the wrong person, and for me, he's the number one person that I have to oppose vigorously. So the other 2 are similar to me. We're all people describe us as centre-right, even though I'm very socially liberal. I probably traverse the spectrum more than they do. They're all sort of pigeonholed, but Fess is definitely the opposition. So when it comes down to it, after the game we'll have a beer.
That's good.
But while the game's on, if I can forearm him, I will. So
high tech away.
I like how you you show respect to the other candidates, and you're open and honest about, like, I want to be mates. We can have a drink after this, but
I'm a good human being. So I've a couple of times with Fess in a public debate, I've shredded him, and on purpose. But I always send him a text afterwards, or always make sure I shake his hand and show him appropriate respect. And we have a lot of mutual friends. And I've told him, said, after this is over, we'll be friends. I'll always support you as much as I can. But at the moment, we're in a combat situation. So, as I said before, this is not life and death. It's far more serious than that. So, this is a battle for the future of 1.5 million people.
wow.
For a future of 40% of New Zealand's GDP. And it needs a special type of person to do this job. and I'm the right person, and the Feso's the wrong person. So I had said a long time ago that this will be a slugfest between two people, and the latest polls identify exactly who the two are, and I'm one of them. So
Yeah, that's what.
and it's going to be a slugfest. It will be. It'll be a battle. The Labour movement have mobilised all their resources against me. New Zealand On Air gave a $160,000 grant to the spin-off.
Wow.
Just to write about local body politics. It's obscene how much money they got. They've written 20 articles so far. 15 are about a Feso. Every one of them is favourable. 5 of them are about me. They're all about how bad I am and how unsuited I am. So when you know that Labour is mobilising their resources against you, you know you're winning the battle.
Oh, mate, you're a threat. You're a real threat, Leo.
The battle lines have been drawn. Everybody knows now where it's going to commence, when it's going to start. It's a matter of who's going to be the last man standing. Let me tell you now, it'll be me.
I love that stubbornness.
I love it, Leo. I love it, Leo. I love the
That
confidence.
can-do attitude. As you were sharing, I just got this, like, man, you have this heart for the city. It's not just about winning. You're not trying to make a name for yourself. You could easily, you got money. You could easily go and retire, but you're out here trying to, do the best for millions of people.
Yeah.
There's nothing in it
thousands
for
of
me.
people, yeah.
There's nothing apart from a whole lot of work and the balance of the rest of my life, really, because I'm determined to go through to 2034, which is 4 terms. Once you become incumbent, it's hard to get a mayor out of the seat because you have all the assets at your disposal to lift your profile and to paint a picture that's always rosy and how much good work you've done. So if I can get 4 terms, I can get us to the 34 Commonwealth Games. I can get the waterfront stadium I want. I want a cultural centre. I want an aquatic centre. I want to change the landscape of Auckland City. I want to have free public transport so that Mr. and Mrs. Average from this side of town, instead of on Sunday going to the drive-through to buy bad food, they say to the kids, let's go jump on the bus or jump on the train, we'll go into the city. We'll have a swim. We'll get down by the harbour. Because they can't access that harbour at the moment. You can get down to the viaduct, but you can't get into the harbour unless you know an old white guy with a yacht. Otherwise, kids don't get to see the harbour. And what's this city about? It's about the water, isn't it? It's about the harbour.
City of
Most
Sail,
kids
yeah.
hardly get to see it.
Yeah, you're right.
They don't get to enjoy it, So my vision is to change the whole complexion of the city. And it doesn't take money. You don't need to tax ratepayers to do it. You just got to take the assets or the resources we have there now and add value to them. As I said, I can easily turn that port's land. It's 3 kilometres of berthage, 6 fingers out into the water. I can turn that into $12 billion with a click of my fingers. And that $12 billion will be ring-fenced and I'll use it for the city to create something magnificent. We're already having dialogue, I wasn't kidding before, with people up in the UK, with people in New Zealand, with various sporting bodies and codes about how we can take what's a dysfunctional city now in terms of like Eden Park you can't play cricket at. Do you know that? You can't play 5-day cricket.
Yeah.
Western Springs, they can't get rid of the speedway, so you can't do much there apart from have rock concerts. Eden Park, you can only have 6 a year. Penrose is not fit for purpose anymore. I went to Warriors last week. It needs a bloody good tidy up, and the Warriors deserve better. They've sold out 2 games in a row, and Penrose is inaccessible. North Harbour Stadium, no one wants to go there. It's 100 miles from anywhere. The city needs Christchurch. You just signed off today on a $700 million iconic stadium. Christchurch is 350,000 people. How can they afford to build an iconic stadium and Auckland hasn't got a decent stadium? How does that work? If you want to have 660 playing here next year, where are you going to put them? You're so limited in what you can do in this city. The city deserves better. And as for an aquatic centre, as I said before, kids need to have, water should be a part of New Zealand's life. It should be a stream to swim in or a harbour to jump into or go and catch a fish off the edge of the wharf or something. But so few kids get that opportunity. It's such a shame. And a cultural centre, look at Ngāti Whātua. When was it? I'm trying to remember my dates now. I get my dates wrong sometime. I'm going to say 1846, but it could be 1866 when they gave the land to Governor Hobson, and then they got stripped of all their land and got kicked off the Tamaki Drive and put up the hill in Bastion Point and got Bastion Point taken off them. And how's that fair? They deserve better. So I think we have fallen short in many ways in the way the city's developed and the way direction we've gone off on occasions has been inappropriate. But I'd like to think that we're coming back I think we're learning to blend more to do what's better for the general population than what we have in the past.
Yeah, that's good.
And I want to be a leader amongst that group. I want to be the person who, as I said before, the metaphor I always use is the All Blacks. I remember the first time the national anthem was sung in Te Reo. People were horrified. People wouldn't join in.
I remember that.
Now it's normal. Everyone joins in, And when you watch those boys run on the field, no one cares what colour your skin is or what shoes you're wearing. People just care whether you're wearing black or not. If you're wearing black, it's our tribe. So that's how we should look at ourselves as a community and as a city and as a country. We shouldn't care where you come from or what your background is. It's what you do to make each other's lives better that matters.
It's amazing. It's amazing, Leo. And I love it because you're saying the Aquatic Center, the cultural center, and it should be. You're thinking about Auckland. Tamaki Makaurau is the city of sales, the city of sales. And then, but I think one of the questions I was thinking, and I think a lot of people might be asking you this as well, Leo, in terms of reducing the living or cost living and all that kind of stuff, because you think, Auckland's so expensive to live in now. It's just
so cost of living is prohibitive, and it's prohibitive for a multitude of reasons. Some of which are within our control, some of which are not. So clearly COVID is a factor. It's forced to, supply chain issues, which a lot of that's tied into technology at the ports and stuff, which is something we can fix. But there are things we can't fix. Price of commodities, primary produce, what we're getting for our beef now. People can't afford to eat New Zealand meat anymore because it's more valuable to sell it offshore. Even as a restaurateur, we have to look now at which cuts we're using because some of it's not affordable. And that's a shame because, I'm not I'm not well off, but nor am I disadvantaged in life. But when you look at people from Struggle Street who are working 2 jobs, and you hear stories where the kids during COVID have to go out and work too because dad didn't have any work, and then the kids, because they get a part-time job and they're bringing money home, and when dad's job does start again and mum says there's no point in going back to school because you've already been away for 3 months, so the kids leave school. And they're sad stories because that's going to define where you end up in life. It's not how life should be. But getting back to the cost of living, so the FSO's got one really good policy about free public transport. I had the policy about 6 months before him, but he's managed to monopolise the media in recent times. But my model's always been based around the regional fuel tax, which hasn't been spent by the government. They harvested all that money. There's 300 million of it sitting down there unspent. And they had plans for it with like some mill road out here at Drury and things like that, but they've never spent it. So I'm going to demand they give it back to the city. And I'm going to run a free public transport for a year and work out how the model's more efficient. One of the things about public transport in Auckland, a lot of buses travel around the city and they're not full, they're not maximised, and it's a one-size-fits-all mentality to public transport. I think there should be multi-mode options. It could be shared Ubers, it could be scooters, who knows, but we have to work harder on things like free public transport for people who can't afford it. So the average family on the south side of town spends between $40 and $75 on public transport per week. So call it $55-$60, round 60 up, 50 weeks a year, $3,000. The average family pays $3,500 in rates. So if I can give them free public transport, if I can link it to congestion charging for peak hour, I can do a dollar for dollar offset, and I can save every family from Struggle Street from the south side of town effectively their rates every year. So that's a big saving. Wow. That's a big part of cost of living. And it's compounded now by things like rates are done on a basket of average CVs. So the suburbs where like Mayoral and even around here, Manukau, those houses 2 or 3 years ago would call them $750 a pop for a nice enough 4-bedroom house. That house is 1.2 today. So your rates have gone up from proportionally by about 35%. As well as that, council puts your rates up 3.5% every year, and this year they've got a targeted 2.5% for climate change as well. So people are looking at their rates effectively doubling, and it's unfair because these are the people who can't afford it. These are the people who work 2 or 3 jobs. These are the people who, sometimes I hear stories about the kids, 2 of the kids can't go to school on the same day because they only share one uniform. So one will go one day and one will go the next. Well, that's not how life is supposed to be. So, and these are issues that we have to address. Cost of living is a big, big issue, and it's an even bigger issue, unfortunately, amongst the PI community, Pacifica, and amongst the Māori and people who, the ethnic peoples, they seem to suffer the most, which is just not how life was supposed to be. So, but it's how it is. So.
I know you don't concentrate on one suburb. You're looking at Auckland as a whole, and you just mentioned our Pacifica community. They struggle a lot, and a lot of our audience, and especially we're part of that community. I'm a proud South Aucklander, and a lot of us will just gravitate towards FSO because we've got a brown brother up there. He's going to represent us. So what is your hope for South Auckland and the Pacifica community?
So, as I said, I'm a very equitable person. I think that life's supposed to be fair. It's not, but it's supposed to be. So all you can really aim for is to make life fairer for people, give people opportunity. In particular of the PI community in the south side, well, I'm proud to say that I've been working out this side of town for some years now. I've worked with Grace Foundation, which is Dave Vitelli's father, and his uncle Ula. I've worked with them. and I've worked with Dave himself off and on for a few years now. I enjoy Dave's company as a person, but I like working with them too. I like what they do. So through the lockdowns, I helped them a lot I set up a kitchen for them at one stage called Community Kitchen to teach people how to cook meals for less than $1 a meal, which I can quite easily do, but unless you know what you're doing, it's hard to do. But Dave uses it now for educational purposes. But I helped them right through lockdown. I'm proud to say that I came out and packed food parcels with them, and even when the cops turned up, I helped load the police vans with the food parcels to go and be distributed. So I'm not a saint, but I've done more than most, and I've done my bit, and I think I'm sufficiently. I have the runs on the board, is how I'll say it, to say that I'm a decent human being who cares, and when I'm me, no man, woman or child will be left behind, no matter what the colour of your skin is or where you come from. It doesn't make any difference to me. My job is to make everybody's life better, not to make one particular sector or one particular suburb. So I'd like to think that in 14 or 15 years' time, when I'm done and dusted, people will look back and they'll go, you know what? He was a good mayor. That's all I asked for. And they do that now. There's some mayors they look back on, like Dubmire Robertson or Logan Campbell, and the city measures those men and says they did a great job for the city. And some mayors they look back on and they say that bloke didn't do a great job, and that in both instances I think the criticisms or the support, the praise is fair and reasonable. But I'd like to think that I'll be fair to everyone. I'll make everyone's life a little bit better. Not sure how, but I'll do my best. So.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think the cool thing about it, Leo, is that you're very confident. And you're very confident, and it feels like you were saying before, Leo. You said, "Hey, you have your team, you have the people in the campaign, and they tell you this is what you need to do. Talk this way. This is the speech." But you said, "No. I'm going to do it the way who I am."
We have a saying. Yeah. We have a saying. Just let me be Leo. And I have to remind them all the time. Not a day goes by. They tell me what clothes to wear. You look really nice in a blue shirt tonight. I don't want to wear a blue shirt. I just want to be Leo. Let me be Leo. Before I came here tonight, I thought about should I change my clothes because I'm going, but no, why would I? Just be Leo.
Just be Leo, mate.
Who cares? People judge me because of what I wear. I couldn't care. I like wearing yellow. I wear yellow shoes all the time. I was walking into a place the other day, and family behind me said, "Look at the old guy rocking the yellow shoes." But I like that sort of shit. So yeah, I'm just Leo.
And I love that, Leo. And the thing as well, Leo, because there will be, and you know this, Leo, the Pacifica and the Māori people will be like, "Oh yeah, Efeso has the brown face there, proud he's South Auckland," and you get a lot of South Aucklanders who get, "Yeah, that's the one." But Leo, like, what's one thing that you like for the viewers out there? Because some of the viewers, or most of the viewers, might be kind of Pacific or Māori. Think, "Oh," but what's one thing that you could say to persuade or sway them? Say, hey, I'm more than just. Because
there's about 101 things I could say. We're talking about reasons not to vote for Efeso and reasons to vote for me.
Or more so to vote for you, Leo.
Well, I'm the real deal. I'm the whole package. I've been the ups and downs of life. I've had the experience. I'm a businessman. I can read a balance sheet. I understand what KPIs are. Efeso has none of those qualities. He's been a career. He was head of the student union. He spent $5,000 on cabs, on taxis in one single year when he's head of the student union. 2 weeks ago, he fabricated a story about road rage out at Te Atatu.
I read about that.
It was proved to be completely fabricated, that story. And in 2000, I said to the media, "Why don't you pursue the story?" They said, "Because he says he's moved on." Now, you can't. I can look at any one of you three today and say, if I ever told you a lie, I would own it. But Efeso has done it numerous times. In 2014, he was pulled out of immigration at Auckland Airport by the police. He wrote a piece in the Daily Blog saying he was racially profiled. The truth is that he abused an Asian person at duty free. He called them a naughty word, and they called the police and the police were going to cuff him. They took his passport off him. And the story hasn't been told yet, but that'll all come out in due course. So Efeso's been a career politician. He hasn't worked. He hasn't created a business. He hasn't employed anyone. And he hasn't really done anything productive. He's a nice person. He's a particularly good speaker. He's quite charming. He's a good family man. He's very religious, which I admire. He's the poorest attendee bar one of all members of council though at meetings, so you could argue that he's lazy. But the difference between Efeso and Leo is that Leo does things. Leo creates things. Leo's an activator. Leo creates jobs. Leo helps people pay the rent. Leo will give you a warm bed and a roof over your head. Efeso does none of those things. He offers nothing. And when you become a member of the Labour Party like Efeso is, he is endorsed by the Labour Party. You have to, and I have the rule in my phone, I use it quite often in debates, you have to forego the right to dissent. central government overrules every decision you make. So even at local government, you cannot make any decision that doesn't comply with central government directives or rules. So who are you electing to run the city? This city is 35% of the country's population. It's 40% of the GDP. It is the beating heart of this country, yet you're controlled from Wellington. Do you want to be controlled from Wellington?
No.
Do you want more of the same, what the city's been putting up with for this many years now?
No.
If you do, vote for Efeso. If you want change, vote for Leo. The thing about Leo is I will give you a chance to make a choice if you want change, and I will build a better Auckland. Efeso cannot say any of those things, hand on heart. He can't say it. He'll use the word inclusive, he'll use the word collaborative. They're just modern trendy words. They mean nothing. I'll give you a chance. You've got to make a choice. You make a considered choice if you want change. If you're tired of Auckland being managed the way it is, if you're tired of having poor core services, if you're tired of a council that wastes money on millions and billions now on bikeways when you don't have a bike to ride or the weather's not suitable. 2% of Aucklanders go to work on a bike. Do you know that? They just spent $50 million, $14 million a kilometre building bikeways around 3 elite white suburbs. Point Chev, Greylin, what's the third one? There's 3 of those suburbs in a row anyway. What's the point? No one uses them. It's ridiculous. The council signed off on another $2 billion for bikeways. Meanwhile, Auckland Transport is stripping 1,200 kilometres of parking off all these main streets. Half of them will be out this side of town. Where are you going to park now when you want to go and buy a new suit or take your clothes to the dry cleaners or go and pick the kids up from school? You won't have anywhere to park anymore. It's ridiculous. Now, people have a way of living their life. I know, particularly out this side of town, a status symbol is to have a nice motor. You're being forced out of your motors and onto bikes. How are you going to take the 7 kids to church on Sunday on a bike? It's ridiculous the way we're spending our money. You can only spend your money once. And Efeso is on the record. I have this detail as well of saying that he thinks we should tax people more, put their rates up more to pay for more infrastructure. What infrastructure are you going to pay for exactly, Efeso? What is it that you want? I want to see people with a roof over their head. I want to see community housing. I want to see people with a warm bed. I want to see kids who can go to school, who don't have to share a uniform, who don't have to worry about leaving school at 15 to go and get a job to feed mum and dad. I want to see a fair and equitable society. Efeso doesn't see it that way. Efeso is all about Efeso. Leo's about other people. That's the difference.
Mate. Also, obviously, Efeso's not here to defend himself or share, but
don't worry, I say exactly the same thing to him every time we have a debate. Except quite often I'm a lot harder on him to his face. And then I shake his hand afterwards and I say, Fess, we'll still be mates when this is over. So, yeah. But you've got to tell the truth about each other. You know?
That's good.
None of us are perfect. We have our design faults, and I know I get criticism too. So, but I give it and I take it. I trade blows. So
that's good, mate. Oh, Leo, mate. Leo, mate. Oh, mate. And we said a bit in the beginning, Leo, you're a colourful personality, mate.
I'm not shy. How are we going for time? Are we getting... What are we doing?
Yeah. We'll wrap it up soon. But Leo, I'd love.
I don't care. Keep going. I'm happy to ask one. I was just curious.
Oh, mate, I just.
If you're running out of questions, I can just keep talking.
Oh, mate, no.
It reminded me of something though. One of our guests was saying, and I can't remember specifically who, but they were saying about how they were talking specifically about Polynesian politicians and how when they first come up the ranks, they've got all these awesome ideas and everyone rallies behind them, and then something happens when they sort of get to a certain point where they kind of become a mouthpiece for, you can tell they're not able to speak freely about the things they want, and they kind of fall in line with whoever they're affiliated with. And
probably no fault of the individual, not my job to defend them, but party politics always dictates what you can and can't do and what you can and can't say. And in many ways you do become, there's a lot of tokenism in politics. You represent a certain sector. I think the Pacific Island voice and the Māori voice is becoming a lot more powerful than what it was. People like Willie Jackson have done a good job of leading the way, Kamo Sepuloni. So I think they are, particularly with this last Labor government, they have become empowered a lot. So I don't think, they certainly don't have the restraints or constraints they have had in the past. But I get what you're saying, it's true. And it probably applies to all politicians actually. A person like me who's not aligned, within reason I can do whatever I want to and say whatever I want to. I mean, I've got the phone numbers of half the cabinet and almost all of the National Party. And they reach out to me quite often to exchange ideas or say, hey bro, you're just not doing that bit right, or maybe you shouldn't do that. So I listen to what they have to say, but I'm not guided by them. I don't take orders from them. At the end of the day, I'm Leo. So if they don't like it, too bad.
And that's the beauty, Leo, because you're not a politician. You know, and those guys that probably have to kind of be swayed in terms of the parties or whatever party they're in. But you're like, hey, I'm not a politician. I'm a businessman. I love what you said. You said I'm a businessman. I've got lived experience. But also you've paid people. You're your employer. You had people under you and work for you, and so you kind of know. And you know Auckland.
92% of the taxes and revenue generated out of Auckland goes away from Auckland, goes to Wellington to be redistributed. We don't get our proportionate share back.
Why is that, Leo? What's
because
up with
Wellington dictates what you do and don't do with your life. They have this weird, because they're all public servants down there. Have you been to Wellington recently?
I haven't been there for a while.
Have you seen how they dress down there? How they walk? They all have weird names like Nigel and Sebastian and shit. They walk with umbrellas and stuff. They're different to us in Auckland, you know.
It is a different
They lose their sense, and they tell us how to live our lives, you know. Auckland, I'll go back to the eastern suburbs, to the villas again. Auckland is a very proud people, and whatever they have in their life, whether it's a villa or a nice motor or something. Down in Wellington, they're completely different animals, you know. They're a 9 to 5 mentality, and well, I mean, what are they actually good at in Wellington? Can you think of anything? I used to be a Hurricane supporter for a while. They were good occasionally, but not very often. I mean, I love Artie Savia. So Christian Cully was a mate of mine. Well, not a mate of mine, but a friend. Yeah, but he was the best player ever. But yeah, but I when you go to Wellington, I think, what do they even see in the place? Windy hole it is, and it shouldn't even be the capital of New Zealand. We should take the beehive and bring it up to Auckland and run the country out of Auckland, shouldn't we? Well, we're the powerhouse, you know. It's very much a tail wagging dog situation, isn't it? And what actually happens down here? They've got no industry. They've got one road in and out. They've got a shitty little harbour about half as good as ours. Their rugby team's no good. They haven't got a league team to speak of.
Oh, mate.
They've got no private industry. There's no farms or anything down there. There's nothing. Just a whole lot of wind and the hills.
Windy Wellington.
Yeah, yet they tell us how to live our lives. And who are they? Put us in lockdown all the time, and they don't have any lockdown at all. How's that fair?
Oh, mate.
Why do they lock Auckland down for? We've done nothing wrong.
Mate,
Then they won't come here because they say there's full of COVID virus. No one cares about COVID up here. I don't wear a mask. You guys aren't wearing a mask. People get on with their life up here. You go to Wellington, they'll run around with masks on, like they're going to go off to rob a jewellery shop or something. Get your silly bloody mask off and get on with your life.
Leo, I like the way you think, Leo. I like and you are true to who you are in terms of you'll speak your mind and you don't even bat an eye. You're just like, hey, this is who I am. I love the fact that
it's
you
true
do
though, isn't it? What I say is true. It's hard to argue.
Well, that's it. You can't argue the truth, you know, but you can try to. Well, that's why a lot of politicians can't, when you try to speak truth, like, they kind of divert the question.
So imagine how my managers feel in a debate situation. So when I go to debates now, they always put 2 or 3 round in the crowd, so there'll be 100 in the crowd, and someone will be looking at me going like this, or someone will be going smile, and I'll hear my phone buzz, which you just did a minute ago, and I'll look at the text, it'll go, don't do that again. Because quite often I'll call a person out in the crowd if I recognise someone, don't call his name again. People are starting to focus on him, not you. So that sort of thing goes on all the time. So, but at the end of the day, I just do what I do. I just talk shit and crack jokes and take the piss and just be Leo. But my handlers find it hard to deal with sometimes. Ty, who's with me today, she's my EA. She's not my handler. But is she in this room with us, or is she outside?
Oh, she's just another room, Mum.
Can she hear us?
Ty,
come and say hello. She's kind of
come on, Tyler, come on.
She's kind of used to me. So, but and she doesn't interfere in my life, you know. But the other handlers, they are always telling me, as I said before, you know, they come the silly shit about, you know, wear a nice blue shirt, wear a shirt with a collar.
Take your blue shirt off.
You feel like doing the opposite though, just to piss them off, you know. Or sometimes you get a text, sit up straight. Who do you think you're talking to?
Oh, man.
Do whatever I want to. And manhandled by you, or told how to behave and how to do my hair or whatever. So, but anyway, that's life. So, make my own bed, I've got to lie on it. So, it's my choice. I could go and be a beach bum up in Cook Islands and run a bar with a barbecue and have fun, couldn't I? If I wanted to. Probably makes more sense if you think about it. You only get one life.
It does.
But as far as I know, you only get one life. So, it remains to be seen whether we get a second crack at it. But it'd be nice to think you do.
Man, I'm curious about that. I mean, I can see a lot of how coming from a business background would really help you in terms of resilience and being able to pivot and think on your feet. What's sort of more difficult to get used to when you were starting off in business, or sort of transitioning to the politic route?
I haven't really thought about that. Starting off in business is quite edgy because you've got to take risks, you know. You sign personal guarantees and stuff on long-term leases, so... You know, like when I first took headquarters over, that was $1 million a year. So I didn't sign up for 20 years, but if I had, I'd be signing $20 million away. Things go pear-shaped. The last 2 years of COVID, down there has been pretty torrid. You know, we've spent a lot of it locked down, and we didn't let one single member of staff go. We kept everybody on, kept them. In the first round, we topped their pay up. In the second round, they just got the wage subsidy. But we made sure no one suffered. Everybody could pay their rent, and everybody could pay their mortgage and feed their kids. And that takes a toll. It's demanding, you know. And it's like having a bucket of water in your hand. There's a hole in the bottom of the bucket, and you're watching the water drain away, and nothing you can do about it. And you know, you don't want to shut the business down because you don't know what's around the corner. A couple of times I'd bring people like Stu Nash up, who's Minister of Small Business, and Labour, and say, Stu, I think I might wave the white flag. I think I've had enough. And go, play on, don't do it, you know. You're a person who people measure the hospitality sector by and small business by. You've got to stand and fight. So, well, what am I fighting for? Who knows what the future is? Who knows how long I'm going to be in lockdown for? Who knows whether you're going to allow 10 people at a table or 2 people? Who knows whether you're allowed to sit down or stand up? Who knows when you're allowed to go dance again? You can't even go to the toilet together. I mean, for fuck's sake. You know, the dictatorial way that they ran lockdown, it completely ruined everybody in hospitality. They had us on our knees. Hospitality and tourism were the 2 big sectors that suffered. And there was no shoulder to cry on. And when you rang the Labour government, they said, deal with it. Too bad. And you know, that's tricky. That's very... Going into politics is easy compared to that. But I think that way. I mean, nowadays I'm a little bit different. We own a couple of buildings that we have businesses in now, which is lucky. You don't have to worry too much about the landlord. So that's a wee bit of makes it slightly easier to make decisions. As for going into politics, I don't think politics is particularly demanding. It takes a little bit of money to launch a campaign. And when people support you, they want to see you putting your own money in first to make sure that you're genuine. And then the second thing they want to see is a good poll. So we've done the first bit. We put our own money in to get the campaign started. We've had some generous support from a few people now, and I'm very grateful for that. And we've had a couple of good polls. So people now are starting to line up behind us, and it's kind of like being in a scrum, you know. I'm in the front row, I'm the little hooker, and there's about 6 big locks now pushing me from behind. So things are getting easier. So it's not that difficult, the political part of it. It is a little bit demanding of your time. As I said before, I'm not a very good sleeper, and we have a pretty busy life. Ty does all my bookings for me, so believe it or not, we're flying even to other parts of New Zealand to speak these days. She did a booking for Palmerston North or something tonight to go and talk to a black tie dinner, which I don't mind doing, so I get a lot of support from the provinces. I've got a fairly big social media profile. I have 2 full-timers. Well, I think they're full-time. They get paid, so they're full-time. They manage all their social media accounts, which I'm not very good at. But we have an ability to penetrate. Don't know why, but people seem to be fascinated with the fact that I can just talk to camera and do whatever I do. So I think one week I did a piece that was particularly disparaging about the Prime Minister. During lockdown, I was frustrated. And 1 in 5 New Zealanders viewed that thing in its entirety. Wow. So that's pretty big penetration. You know? So we do have that ability to get out and reach out to the provinces. So, but getting back to the question about, you know, what's the most risky, what's the most demanding? Politics is demanding of your time, and you have to accept that if you're going to become a public figure, people have the right to invade your space. I mean, there are occasions when I think to myself, I just might go home to bed and be on my own for a while, to watch a rugby test on my own or something, so I don't have people pulling at me, you know. If I sit in a bar now, someone will walk up, even if it's not my own bar, and they're grabbing you by the shirt and saying, hey, bro, come and meet this one. Can I have a selfie, you know? And you just think to yourself sometimes, it would just be nice just to have a little bit of peace and quiet and just chill. Just talk cack to your friends, you know. But it's just the way life is, and I guess I can't blame anyone else because I decided to do it. So hopefully at some stage in the future I'm going to feel immensely fulfilled. As I said before, when I did things like running marathons, I'm not a natural athlete, so it's always been hard work, or doing the coast to coast, but at the end of it you feel immensely kind of gratified that you did it, you know. You went through the pain barrier, you know, and you got to the end of it and you feel an overwhelming feeling of, you know, something, what is it? So it's not pleasure, but it's, you know,
satisfaction, eh?
I did it, I did it, man, you know.
Yeah.
People said I couldn't do it and I did it. It's like that shit about, you know, leg pressing I told you before. The boys are doing, you can't do that. Well, I can actually, I'll show you. So Steve McDowell trained me for a while. He said I had we're going off on a different subject now. He said I had the second most powerful set of legs that he'd ever trained after Beatrice Famoina, believe it or not.
Wow.
Steve McDowell, the All Black.
Steve McDowell, he's my personal trainer for a while.
Hey.
He's a good man. Yeah, I haven't seen him for a little while, but he's a good man. I have Monty Beetham these days, who's my boxing coach. But we call it the cuddling club. It's more about cuddling. But have you had Monty on yet?
No, we haven't had Monty.
Mate, get Monty on.
Yeah.
You want to see a great example of the species? Get Monty on.
Yeah,
He's a great human being.
Cool.
He's lethal with his hands.
Oh yeah.
A great sportsman. He's got a great brain on him, and he's a great person.
Yeah.
He'd be fantastic for you for a podcast.
Oh mate.
You've had Kevi Milami?
Yeah.
Yes, we've
Him
had
and his
Kev-
brother.
we've had
Who's
Kevin.
so humble and modest, Kevi. Like, how can you be that good at something and still be so humble? I don't get it. I'm not humble, as you probably know. But I look at people like Kevi and I go, I just can't get how you're so humble.
Mate, I don't know. He's just like you said. He's just a lovely person.
So who else have you had? Have you had Butch on? Mad Butcher?
We've had the Mad Butcher. Yeah,
I love Butch.
Super
Yeah.
Elite. Oh, he was our case.
He's barking mad over, but he's great fun.
Oh,
Those rings he wears. Yeah.
mate, he's a real character, mate.
Yeah.
Oh.
Who else have you had on that I know? Have you had Mike King on?
No, we haven't had Mike King on.
He's good. He's a great speaker, Mike King.
Yeah.
I went to celebration of Quentin Pongi's life at Ellerslie. And Mike King made a speech. Seriously, a tear in your eye stuff. It was absolutely fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you follow the league game much?
Oh, mate, we love our sports, mate.
So do you remember Kevin Tamati?
Yeah, we're Kevin.
Remember when he
Tamati?
fought Greg Dowling?
Yeah.
So as an old West Coast battler, we were big in league down there. We're not anymore, but in those days, Butch Cole was in the Kiwis and Donnie Ladner and MWJ, Skippy O'Donnell was fullback and about probably 6 or 8 boys from the coast. And Kevin Tamati was our hero because you remember when he fought Greg Dowling?
Yeah.
Right? That was the best fight ever, right?
Yeah.
It's on YouTube, but it's all edited up. But at the time with the fight, it was just the best fight ever. And they were going down the tunnel, they both got sent off and Dowling pushed him in the back and they into it. And he ended up hammering Dowling. He had him bent over and going,
On the sideline, yeah.
So I was at this, what reminded me of it was Mike King was speaking. And someone was pointing out all the celebrities in the room and they said, there's Kevin Tamati over there. I said, that can't be. That guy's only my size. And I said, are you really Kevin Tamati? He said, I am. So I shook his hand and I said, can I have a selfie? I was like, I say I don't do hero worship. I love real men, I just love it. So I had a selfie and I put it up on Facebook. Within about 5 minutes, there'd be a dozen coasters. I put up who is this? Anybody recognise him? About a dozen coasters. That's Kevin Tamati. It's Kevin Tamati. He's a hero down there. Yeah. But you know how when they're big men, like McDowell, he was a very, very good front rower, as you know.
He was good.
But he's not that big now. It's quite extraordinary when you see him. He's not that big. Even Kevi Milami's not that big.
Kevin, yeah.
But he'd be 5'10", I reckon. He wouldn't
I
be
think
much
so,
more.
yeah. I think 5'10", yeah.
I mean, he's got great hips and legs, but he's not a giant of a man,
Just strong legs, yeah.
They seem to shrink after they give up playing.
But mate, Leo, mate, it's been a privilege, mate. Just talking to you, we could just sit and just talk for hours. Just one more thing as well, Leo, because you said prior to you doing that the nightclub, and you said you felt like you were invincible and so forth. And then I know this can be like a bit of a whirlwind, and let's say when you win or if you win, or and it could be still a place. Man, I've done this. Oh man, you can get to a place where you're quite complacent, content, and kind of rest on your laurels. What's going to keep you grounded, mate? What's going to keep you grounded?
I think I'm a pretty naturally grounded person. I don't think keeping grounded will be the issue. The issue for me will be father time. I'm 66, and I have good health now. I'm really careful with my health, but I worry that I've got to get to 2034. I've got to deliver for this city, the Commonwealth Games. I've got to deliver that stadium. I've got to deliver the Aquatic Center, the Cultural Center. I'm determined to do it, and I know it's going to take time. And I don't want to hand over the baton to anybody else. I've got a plan to hand over, and you'll be delighted to know that it's to a member of the PI community.
Oh,
in fact, we may well have mentioned his name only a couple of minutes ago.
Oh, thanks, Leo.
Who's but I've got high hopes. He's entering politics. So is Butterbean this year.
Oh, yes.
So all the boys are. I have huge time for those boys. So, and I'm hoping to get us through the next 12 odd years, 4 cycles of the Mayoral campaign, and to deliver for the city. And once I've done my job, I'll probably cark it on the last day. I'll cut the ribbon for the Commonwealth Games. They can open with the Rolling Stones, followed by the All Blacks in the Commonwealth Games. Then I'll resign on the spot, hand the baton to a guy called Kevi, and I'll fucking die on the spot. They can burn me, and I know exactly where I'm going to when I'm done and dusted. I'm getting cooked. I don't want to be buried in a box. And I'm not having a funeral, I'm having a party, a big piss up. I'm going to pre-record my video, and I'm going back to where I come from, which is the Moonlight River, which is right where the Pipe River mine is, where Mum family comes from. I'm going in the river where I grew up. When I was a kid, I spent most of my life down that river fishing, shooting pigeons and stuff, and learning to be with my grandfather after Dad had a stroke when I was only about 7, you see, so he couldn't teach me how to be what you need to learn when you're a boy, so Granddad taught me. Granddad was Danny Doolan, by the way, which I named the pub after him. Yeah. So I'm going back where I belong, and I'm done. So if I get 12 good years and I deliver for the city, you can look back and go, there's that old bastard over there in the Zimmer frame. And he's nearly dead now. Someone finish him off. Anyway, that's my biggest challenge, is dealing with the advancing years. At 66, you know, things don't work quite as well as they used to. I won't get too personal about that, but trust me, they don't work as well as they used to. Not all the moving parts. I still love my boxing, though. My blood pressure's good. I don't have any known health issues. I get checked up regularly. So I'm going to have my 4th vax tomorrow, as I said. So I look after myself. And I'm not a big drinker or anything like that. I don't do drugs. So
Nice.
one of my problems is I'm a very poor sleeper, though. So that is a big ongoing problem for me, but I just manage it. So,
Mate, also, any last words, brothers?
No. Just really encouraged to
ask me what the naughtiest thing I've ever done in my life is.
Oh wait, what's the naughtiest thing you've ever done in your life?
When I was at first year at vet school, I grew weed to try and put myself through vet school. And I grew some really good buds. I studied how to grow it, and like I do everything in life, I'm very passionate. So we had a lecturer who was to teach how to pluck the male plants and get the females to grow out some good sensimilla. And I grew it on the west coast along the beaches. I used to hide in the gorse, crawl in amongst the gorse so the cops couldn't see where you'd gone, and plant it and pull a bit of gorse out in a little spot like about the size of this table, a couple of plants in, and go back. And I knew exactly when to pick them in the middle of the afternoon at about March, when the buds are really like sticky and smelt sweet and all that sort of shit. I was like that. And a couple of times, I don't do drugs, but that's why I got into the subject. It made me think about, I had a couple of buds about probably 2 years ago. I went to a place out in Helensville, maybe 3 years ago, and I got on. We'd had a couple of espresso martinis to open the batting before lunch, and I'm not a big drinker, so I was half pissed, and a bloke handed me a big fat joint. I won't mention his name. I had a couple of puffs. I thought, fuck, that's good. Anyway, I got out to this big party. It had Dave Dobbin was singing, and I ended up climbing into a hedge and going to sleep. And someone dragged me up by the ankles. Wake up, you little prick! And find another tree to climb under and go to sleep. I went to a Simply Red concert once, and someone gave me a hash cookie. I'd never had a hash cookie before. And this is a long time ago. Simply Red, right? Man, I got into the worst body stone ever. I was at a complete tin soldier. I was in the middle of the dance floor, and about 500 people dancing around me, and I was like this.
So you just
I didn't move for hours.
Oh, mate.
But it was so good. The music sounded so good. But that's about as naughty as I've ever done. So.
I thought there was another one. You're not going to talk about the other one, Leo?
Which one?
The one with you with the lecturers and students and.
Oh, have you read that story? Did you read that? I can't believe you read that. I should never have said that. That's very personal stuff. But yeah, that is true. But yeah, no, we didn't discuss that. I thought the story about the buds was pretty naughty.
That's funny. Brings back some.
You can't beat good weed, and on the west coast they grow really good weeds. Up the coast road, you know, some of those guys, I won't mention their names in case they watch the show, but some of those boys knew how to grow really good shit. I don't know. I haven't had one. I said I had a couple of joints with the one guy both times, and about 3 or 4 years ago. And it's, I've got to say, it's a great feeling when you're completely off your chops, listening to some good tunes. But I'd hardly do it. So that's about as naughty as I've ever been. So,
mate, you know what you've done, Leo? You've swayed all the Pacifica and all the people.
That was what did it. That was the straw.
To be honest with you, I think all the Pacifica people follow me now anyway, because headquarters is like 90% Pacifica and Māori. You don't get, yeah. I always make jokes about old white people. I don't know if you read that shit, but someone asked me once, I got nominated for some award, I think it's called Lewisham's, and there's 3 other nominees, and one of them was Soul Bar. And I said something I got hauled over the cold for saying it. I said it's full of old white people and girls with flappy lips. I got taken in. I got severely told off for not being a team player and for saying it, but it's true. Yeah, who cares?
Oh, Leo,
it's true.
Man. Oh, mate. Sorry, guys. You wanted to say?
No, all good.
Come on. Since you told us your naughtiest moment, what's been your proudest?
Probably getting my degree has made me pretty proud because Mum was alongside me, and you know, I think, as I said before, I'm not sure if we said it on air or before we come to you. Banksy said to me, "You know why you're doing this, don't you?" And he said, "For Mum." So even though she's long dead, you'd like to think that Mum would go, "You know what? He was a little shit to bring up. He was drinking piss when he was about 10 or 11. He was smoking cigarettes by the time he was 12. He was chasing girls up and down the street." That's why she did the deal to let me leave school, because I was such a troublesome child. She must have been sometimes looking at me going, "What have I bred? What have I bred?" But then when you get your degree, and I'm a doctor, becoming a veterinarian, you become a doctor, and even I kind of got the feeling then she was very proud. She thought, maybe he's not completely hopeless. Maybe he's not just a little loudmouth pain in the ass who likes the sound of his own voice. She always used to say that to me, you love the sound of your own voice. Shut up for a while. Mum, I'm just talking. But you'd like to think that, that would be your proudest moment when your mum's alongside you. So, and then if and when I become mayor, which I think I'm a huge chance of doing it, you'd like to think that she'd be up there watching and go,
she'd be very proud, yeah.
You'd think so,
Well, she would, mate.
And if she's not up there watching, well, I think she is, so that's all that matters, really.
Yeah.
And as I said before, there's nothing in it for me for doing this job. I'm doing it for other people, not for me, so.
Beautiful, mate. Beautiful.
Thanks, bro.
Jay?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I'm just grateful for, you asked a few questions there about aren't you tired, and all these other different things, and a lot of it really struck a nerve with me. So I just wanted to thank you for being your true self and just saying it how it is. It really is refreshing, and I think because I'm in my final year at university to become a teacher. And
good on you.
Yeah, a primary school teacher. I really believe that developing good character in kids at a young age will help guide them in life. But there's also some similar barriers in terms of, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to say this. There's all sorts of things like that where they sort of keep an eagle eye on you. And so it's really refreshing and awesome to see you in the space where a lot of people are like sort of treading on ice, but you've found a way to be yourself and be successful at it.
So I don't know where the camera is, but I presume it's over there somewhere. But all I can say is, hand on heart, solemnly, that I will always be a man of the people. And even when I become mayor, I can promise you I will still walk the streets. I'll walk them at 6 a.m. on the way to the gym. And I've already had a very high-profile person want to be my personal security. I said, I'll never need security. I will always wander the streets and be a person who reaches out and shakes hands, and I'll lead by example. If I won't do it, I'll never ask anybody else to do it. Even at work now, Ty will tell you this, if there's a toilet to be cleaned, I'm happy to clean it. Doesn't bother me. To me, we're all equal. We're all born equal. We all end up the same way, in a box, or in my case, in a river. So there's nothing flash about me. When I become mayor, I'll just be like, I'll enjoy nothing more than coming out this side of town and helping Butterbean load some food parcels into a van for someone to distribute or something like that. So
cool.
I'm very, very proud of the fact that I'm just a bloke. I didn't have a great flash sort of entree into life. I wasn't born into money. I was born into a good family, but I've never had a life of privilege, and I've worked for everything that I've got in life. I've earned everything. I've had nothing given to me. I take nothing for granted. And I'm just I'd like to think that I'm a good New Zealander, good Kiwi. And I feel humble when I'm in the presence of greatness. Like I said before, Kevin Mialamu, I'm humble when I'm around people like him. But in my own unique way, I've been given a certain skill set and I think I've utilised my skill set that I've been given quite well, and I intend to keep utilising them for the benefit of as many people as I possibly can. So that's my goal in life. I'll die a happy man, I can promise you that.
That's awesome.
I'll have no regrets. I haven't wasted a single day of my life, and I don't ever look back and think I could have done that better. I'm not a big rear vision mirror man anyway, but you look at some people and you think to yourself, you could have been anything. You see some rugby players who come through the grades and you think to yourself, that's the next big thing, and then they come to nothing. Yeah. But I've never had those sort of feelings in life. I think within reason, everything I've aimed to do. I regret some things, like I really regret I've had 2 marriages. The second marriage, the breakup, that hurt me really badly for a long time, mainly because of the kids. But I'm confident the kids will come back in due course. 2 of them are great. One of them in particular is really fabulous supporter. So that's probably the one big regret that I have in life, but I always felt that was beyond my control. I kind of didn't contribute too much to it. It was an informed decision made by my wife at the time, and I understood that she thought that, if you fall out of love, you've got to move on. There's no point in living a lie. So I kind of supported her, but that was quite traumatic, and probably if I do have to say one big regret in life, that would be the one that I couldn't have been a better father and a better husband. I wish I had been, but it didn't work out that way, so just life. And as Ned Kelly said when they took him to the gallows, such is life. Yeah. They asked him, said, what are your last words? Such is life. It's life. Right. You deal with it. Make the most of it. Deal with the shit.
Mate, Leo, also, it's been a real privilege, Leo. In all honesty, it's been
I'm sure you say this to every single person.
No, I think this is the first time.
It depends on the guest.
Yeah, it depends on the guest. No, it's been a real privilege. I love it. And we could very well be sitting next to, the next mayor. And I love your confidence when
You are sitting next to the next mayor.
Ooh, yeah.
We have a plan. We have planned it for a long time, and we work hard. We plan every step of the way. We're on the runway now. So I tell people, it's like when you're going to have a fight and you train for 6 months in the gym, you practice all your moves, you practice your weaving, your bobbing. We're about to climb through the ropes. The battle's about to commence. Or the other metaphor I use, have you watched Top Gun yet?
Which are the new one? Maverick?
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen it.
Sound effects are fantastic. Storyline's crap. Sound effects are great. But I'm like that F-14 jet that's in the bowels of the aircraft carrier, and they're just loading up all the bombs, and they put you on the lift, and I'm about to go up onto the deck, and Tom Cruise is about to insert himself into the seat, and they're going to hit the afterburners, and away we go. So we've got 89 days to go, I think, from today.
Yeah.
So the fun part, the practicing's all over. Now we're into the
fight's on.
This is the serious part of the business here. This is where the I'm going to say the real contest begins. I'm trying to think of a better metaphor. This is where we'll find out who's got the ticker, who's got the bottle, who's got the ability to deliver, who can stand up and convince people to vote for them, who can deliver a message that appeals to everyone. And bearing in mind, I don't have party support, but I already have 30,000 supporters on the social media pages. I've got 1,000 volunteers. I've got as many volunteers as the entire Labour Party, which is an extraordinary thing. But they've got resources that I don't have. They can go out to each suburb and say, get 20 volunteers to go and do pamphlets this Saturday. I don't have that capacity, so I'm at a bit of a disadvantage there. But I do have a huge following because people are drained and they're tired. They're drained because of COVID and because of just the exhaustion of life, of just not having what they need to get by on a day-to-day basis. And they're tired of reading the bad news in the paper every day. Every day you turn the TV on, it's bad news, bad news, bad news. We need to have some good news. We need some blue sky. That's why we need me as the mayor, because it might be a little way in the future, but there's going to be plenty of blue sky and things to look forward to and opportunities and hope. What the city needs, it needs hope. It needs belief. If you haven't got that, what have you got? It's got dark clouds over your head every day of your life. Really? Is that a life? We can do better. As I keep saying, build a better Auckland. That's what we've got to do. Do it together.
Awesome. And like I said, it's real honour, Leo. And Leo, every guest that comes on, we always give them a gift. So we always give them a bit of a character.
Oh, some buds, hey?
Mate, we always do that. So this is a caricature of you, mate. A sketch of you.
I've got to say, I'm not a great look, but you've done a good job here. You've what have you done to me? You've taken all the wrinkles out for a start. That's a good start. It takes a whole lot of polyfiller and putty to do that. A lot of Botox, but
mate,
whatever you've done. Yeah, that's great.
It's been a real privilege, mate, and thank you so much. And the greatest thing about our conversation, Leo, is that people are looking at your age. They kind of sit in their ways. They go, looking at retirement. But look at you. You're still going, mate. You're still going. You're still following dreams and goals. And
as I said, I run on high octane fuel, and I didn't, I didn't gas myself up. I was born this way. So I saw a piece. Michelle Bogue, for some reason, was asked by one of the newspapers, "What's it like being around him?" And Michelle's not a close friend, but she's a friend. She said it's like he lives 4 lives at the same time. He just, everything about him is so busy and so active. But to me, it's just normal. So, people who try and keep up with me, they're always saying, slow down, slow down. I said, why don't you just speed up? You want to live life at my pace? Just speed up. It's not that hard, Not hard for me anyway. Thank you, boys.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
God bless you all. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
And God bless everyone out there.
Yeah. Any last words, Leo? Just encourage our viewers.
Look, never give up hope. No matter how bad things get, don't default to the easy options in life. Steve Hansen, the All Black coach, we did a barbecue. We quite often work together. Well, not often, but occasionally at auctions to sell barbecue shit with. Have Steve cook your barbecue, and I get roped into it too. But we went to one in Wanaka that we'd sold to some very good friends down there, and he was giving a speech to a whole lot of the boys down there, young island boys, and mostly Fijians, rugby players, and he was talking about the great players that he had in rugby, and he very generously wrapped me into the conversation, which was ridiculous because shouldn't be used in the same sentence as these people. But he's talking about Richie McCaw in particular, and he said what made Richie McCaw different in life was that he used a simple metaphor in life. Sometimes you can turn left and sometimes you can turn right. And turning right is always the hard option, but it's the right option. And he said Richie McCaw never, ever once in his life turned left. But every other person who Steve had obviously dealt with had just occasionally in life had said, I'll just take the easy option today. But my message to the kids out there, and mainly it's all about the kids because it's the other future, is never take the easy option. Take the right option.
Yeah.
Do the hard yards. Do the mahi, you know. It'll pay off. Even if it's a long time to get you, you know, you'll be a better person for it. And never detach from your family. Family's everything, so
Awesome.
build your life around your family, and if you're into the church, build your life around your church, but don't get into those silly bloody drugs and gangs and stuff. You know, it doesn't make you a better person. It's taking the easy option, but it's not right. You don't die a happy person if you take those options. So.
Mate, great advice, and well said. As obviously you already called out Monty, so Monty Beethan, be good to have you on.
I'll share his number. Don't worry.
Oh, yes, yeah.
I'll tell him. I'll tell him in the morning. He's busy with Kevy at the moment
Yeah,
because
that's cool.
we've suspended the gym for a few weeks while he deals with Fight for Life. But I talk to him every second day, so I'll ring him tomorrow and say,
Oh, mate,
Awesome.
that's cool.
I'll tell him to
appreciate that.
connect up. Yeah. He's great. He's a great talent.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
He's a better speaker than I am, and he's got a higher opinion of himself. And he quite often reminds me that when you get carried away and you start getting a little bit, too big for your boots. He's always the first person to tell you, Molloy, settle down, settle down. You're only an old white guy. So, but I'm very proud of Monty. I'm proud to have him as a friend, and I think he's a great leader of men. He's like Kevy.
Yeah.
And these are the people that we should have as role models, because those guys. Monty doesn't never make a mistake in his life. You look at his whole life, his playing career, his business management, his family, his value systems, the way he presents his brand to the world. He's just like the perfect human being, Monty. And his father was an outstanding athlete too.
Monty
So,
Beetham Senior,
yeah.
Oh, mate, that's cool. Hey, listen, thank you so much once again, Leo. Appreciate it. Guys, please like and subscribe, and please look forward to your well thought out comments. And so, yeah, been awesome. Thank you once again. And so our mantra, brothers, refine,
Unlock.
And take charge. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Mandate.